up and finalizing some preparations before that cold comes in.
Right, Chris Welty is live near the Crescent City Connection Bridge with more on the effort to keep the roads open. Chris.
Liz, Lauren, while DOTD is moving equipment and the goal is to treat roads before they freeze, they know that they are up against Mother Nature. Right now, roads are flowing smoothly. There's no issues to report, but of course, that will change as we go into overnight and, of course, tomorrow morning. Now, leaders statewide they are closely watching the storm. The Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, they have multiple crews out laying brine and rock salt throughout the area. Now, the Department of Transportation and Development, they secured another 100,000 pounds of rock salt to add to their supply. So now they have more than 500,000 pounds of rock salt to help with traction throughout the area. Now, DOTD will focus on keeping Mississippi River crossings open, including the Crescent City Connection, Huey P. Long, and the Hale Boggs Bridge. The department will also focus on other priority routes for emergency crews.
Ziga Bridge, the St. Claude Bridge, the Judge Seba Bridge, the bridges along Chef Highway in eastern New Orleans, Wrigley's, and Chef Pass. So we have a whole list of them. We have crews that are going to be designated and responsible throughout this event to ensure that we're doing our best to try to keep those priority routes open.
Now, if there is a need to close state routes, DOTD will talk with law enforcement and DOTD headquarters in Baton Rouge before doing so. Now, cones and barriers are also staged along I-10 should closures need to happen. Reporting live along the Crescent City Connection, Chris Welty, Fox 8, Local First.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. And we do understand that the Hale Boggs Bridge can't be salted right there. They haven't been salted. Why is that?
Yeah, so DOTD crews, they will be using sand to treat the Hale Boggs Bridge because the Hale Boggs Bridge is a steel structure. They don't want to spray salt water, essentially, on that bridge. Of course, that could deteriorate the bridge deck, and that's something that DOTD does not want to do. So that's why they'll be using sand to treat that bridge.
Well, some good info to know. Thanks a lot there, Chris. So here's how you can get the latest as well on the road conditions. You can find real-time information online at 511la.org or download the Louisiana 511 app on your phone.
And now we are taking a live look at the traffic around our area at this hour. As you can see, things are moving slowly from the pictures you can see. Again, it's going to look a lot different tomorrow, because those roadways will be closed. There's probably not going to be a lot of people on the roadways. And again, we will be keeping an eye on those roads tomorrow. Jefferson Parish plans to close the Cleary Avenue overpass, and that's in Metairie, around 5 this evening. And on the West Bank, the Lapalco High Rise closed earlier this afternoon. And the Laplace Bridge over the Harvey Canal is currently down to 1 lane. Officials stress that if you need to travel for emergency reasons, stick to surface roads. Entergy New Orleans says it is not expecting widespread outages during the severe weather.
As Chris Joseph tells us, the utility says it's confident it can minimize the number of customers impacted. Chris.
Yeah, Entergy Louisiana and New Orleans report they have 1,600 workers in the state available to make repairs if and when they're needed. Now, the icy roads and road closures could limit how successful and how easily they can get to those impacts or those damages. However, city leaders indicated elevated roadways will close before midnight tonight. Entergy says it does expect there to be enough energy to meet the demand. Obviously, with that cold weather, people turning up the heat. But in the worst case, it has identified the warming shelters which need power to keep running. Now, Vice President of Customer Service Nika Scott says the utility also has the ability to reroute power to areas if equipment is damaged. But again, if physical repairs are needed to get that power back on, it remains a question.
If it does require an on-site repair, I can't give you a timeline. We'll just have to wait to see what the storm conditions are at the time. Once we know that, we will update our outage map and send text to our customers to let them know when they can expect power to be restored.
Now, Entergy says it's suspended disconnects and planned outages through next Monday, the 27th. The utility says it's also preemptively trimmed trees to head off any damage that those limbs could pose to power lines. Liz?
Thank you, Chris. Louisiana has typically used sand to try to keep roads passable in winter storms, but this time around, St. Tammany Parish will be using salt. It helps melt ice on roads as it forms.
Salting roads this afternoon is something we've never done before. We had a lot of requests from our citizens to put salt. Historically, we've used sand, so we're trying salt this go around. We're going to see how this works. But by what you guys are forecasting, there's going to be a lot of snow on the road, and we're going to be salting the elevated roadways and bridges that usually in southeast Louisiana, when we have these type of severe winter weather events, it's a little bit of ice that we might be able to keep these bridges and roads open. But we're talking about inches of snow, so it's going to quickly close the infrastructure tomorrow.
North Shore officials urge residents to stock up on supplies this evening, as you may have to stay indoors for a couple of days.
And we have more on the other precautions ahead of this storm. Let's go out to Rob Masson from the North Shore.
Hey, Lauren and Liz. Yeah, and those salting operations have begun here in the St. Tammany area. Some 60 bridges now in the process of being salted by parish work crews. So be on the lookout for that as you drive around. We're overlooking downtown Covington. There's really not that much traffic out there. It seems like people are already hunkering down, but parish officials say if you need some last minute supplies, now is the time to go get them, because tomorrow and especially Wednesday, if that snow starts to melt, could be very, very difficult. We have seen a cloud bank start moving in over downtown Covington. The temperatures do feel like they are dropping. Parish officials a little bit concerned about water pressure, as well as people are going to be running that trickle of water to keep their pipes from freezing. And parish officials have been out there de-icing the roads, starting to run their salt. Again, they are saying they understand that people will need to run that trickle of water to keep their pipes from freezing, but they say to try and minimize that usage when the temperature does get above freezing. Meantime, hardware stores have been busy across the North Shore today as people stock up on pipe insulation and firewood and space heaters. The one hardware store we went to in Mandeville, they were running low on space heaters. A lot of people buying antifreeze for their cars as well as and special de-icing gear for their vehicles. So parish officials are telling people to try and stay off the roads tomorrow. The causeway is going to be going down to one lane of traffic tonight. They're going to be coning off the one lane and trying to keep one lane open throughout the duration, and they have de-icing gear ready for when the precipitation starts sometime tomorrow. So St. Tammany officials getting ready. Once again, they're putting salt on some 60 bridges across the parish. They're also urging residents to keep generators far away from their home if we do have a power outage, and they're urging residents to be cautious with space heaters as well. That's the story from Covington. Rob Masson, Fox 8 Local First.
Thank you, Rob. Governor Landry says the state of Arkansas sent over trucks, snowplows, and extra crews to help Louisiana handle this winter weather. But even with more resources, the governor says roads will still be shut down as the snow falls.
The state has been working for over 8 days to do everything in its power to prepare for this winter storm. And I urge you to please heed what we are saying and what your local officials are saying as well. It is extremely important to stay off the road. Unless you absolutely need to be on the road, stay at home and stay warm.
And that's really the sentiment right now, Liz. People, if you need to get supplies, now is the time to do it, because you're quickly running out of time to make any more preparations for this upcoming winter blast.
Chief Meteorologist Bruce Katz and Decondra Norwood keeping a close eye on this is what you need to know at this hour. Bruce.
Well, that is right. We've been putting out that first alert for several days now for the threat of winter weather, and it looks like it will come to fruition, where we get progressively colder. Snow and ice will be impacting travel basically to near zero. I think tomorrow nobody gets around, potentially even into Wednesday as the impacts continue. We're going to have to stay tuned to the forecast as well on the timing, as well as just how much moves in. winter storm warnings, a very rare sight all the way down to the coastal areas for everybody in the Fox 8 viewing area. The models, they are in full agreement that everything that falls likely will be snow. Now, in the beginning, early morning, we may have a mixture of sleet and a little snow, but after 9, 10 o'clock, it's on, a full-fledged snow. Here's your timing now. Here's 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. As you can see, snow begins to move in. Coastal areas, a warm nose of air, which brings in a little sleet. And then as we move into 7, it begins to fill in with all snow. Watch what happens as we move in time up to 9 o'clock. It is full snow in the Gulf of Mexico as well, all the way through noon, all the way through about 3 o'clock. We're going to see an all-day steady snow, at times maybe a burst of moderate to heavy snow, and then it all comes to an end during the evening hours. North Shore between 4 and 6, it begins to taper off. South Shore between 5 and 7, it begins to move on out. Then after that, a frigid night and morning. On Wednesday morning, some of the lows could be far north, single digits to about 12 to 14 degrees. South Shore, we could see around 20 to 24. So we will be updating that as well. That's why I'm saying we will be watching out for the threat of that ice continuing all the way through Wednesday, even potentially Thursday morning. Now, we take a look at the profile of the atmosphere, and snow has to have a column of air that is below freezing as that precipitation moves south. So this is the New Orleans area at noon. All profiles indicating snow. What about the river parishes coming in over towards St. Charles, St. John, St. James? Again, below freezing, a full snow event for the river parishes. What about the Mississippi Gulf Coast? Our friends over to Bay St. Louis, 26, 27, 31, likely all snow once again. And then all the North Shore, Tuesday morning, here we go, snow, 23, 25, 28. So this is going to be more of a snow event than anything. Now, here's your snow potential. Here's 2 a.m. It begins to creep into the North Shore. By 2:30 through about 4 to 6, North Shore, it begins. Then, after 6 o'clock, light snow moves in by 9, and then watch what happens. Heavier snow continues from 9 through noon, through 3 o'clock, and some of the snowfall totals could be incredible. We're talking several inches throughout the region. A large swath of 5 to 8. Could we see a 10? Potentially, but nevertheless, we're going to be watching out for the immediate North Shore Metro on the lower end, potentially 5 on the higher end, 8. Farther south, Homa down to Thibodaux, 4 to 6. Coastal areas all the way down to the mouth of the river could see even an inch. And then we take a look at the actual, again, timing as it moves on in. We will be watching out for a deteriorating day. Right now we're at 40, 20 St. Louis, Minneapolis 7 below. Look what's coming though. We have another surge as that vortex continues south to bring in that frigid air. Tonight, 24 North Shore. You need to run the water on the North Shore. Potentially 14 Wednesday, 20 on Thursday, 26 on Friday. So North Shore, next 3 nights, you need to run the water spaghetti thin or pencil lead thin. Tonight, South Shore, pipes should be fine as far as running water. They need to be repped. Down to 22 potentially, possibly down to 19 with a snowpack on Wednesday, 26 on Thursday, 28 Friday, and then we do begin to warm on up. So as we take a look, winter storm is on the way. DeCondra Norwood's going to step in and let us know what's going on even more so and what we're dealing with right now.
And so we're recapping, and what you're going to find here is that we will continue to see head into the afternoon.
All right, DeCondra, is your mic? We're having a mic issue? Maybe. Are you good now, DeCondra? See, okay, all right, I'll take it from here. So ice and snow on the way, frigid wind chills, and then travel likely will be shut down. So here's the beginning of it with all that moisture developing with that low that will begin to creep our way. Out west, we've seen numerous lows that has just been sparking up these disturbances in that southwest flow, and the timing and the stars align where we are seeing the cold air coming in, and just in the nick of time, that low will be throwing moisture over it. So right now, we've got upper 30s to right around 42 north. We've got some upper 30s to near 40 south, and when that sun goes down, it's going to be frigid. Now, here's one thing I want to point out. very dry air. Dew points in the summer, when they're 75 to 78, remember we talk about the higher the dew point number, the more moisture in the atmosphere? Well, when you see very rarely single-digit dew points, so we're talking 11 to 12, we have dry air. Now, the only thing that would potentially inhibit heavier snowfall would be the dry air kind of overtakes some of the moisture. But I'm still expecting a lot of snow, 1 to 3 on the lower end if that happened, up to 4 to 6 if it doesn't. So again, dry air in place, but I think the moisture of that low is going to overcome it. Right now, we're seeing a north wind, and what does that mean? Wind chills, 34, the way it feels right now at Kenner, 37 at the lakefront, 31 in Macomb, even 34 at Waveland, and your 7-day forecast. Winter storm in effect tomorrow, everybody getting snow. Several inches potentially, 24 to 28 tonight. Again, North Shore, run the water. South Shore tonight, no need. Then on Wednesday, 32 to 34, ice on roads, 14 north, 22 south. Those numbers could go lower. So for Tuesday night and Wednesday, both sides of the lake need to run water. Thursday, 44, a frigid start. We may potentially see icing on roadways still, so we are going to be watching out over the next 3 days, putting out that first alert. And then Friday, finally, although cold, we get into the upper 40s to 50s to low to mid 60s by Sunday into Monday. So once again, we've got a good 3 days to go with frigid weather. Offshore winds, 4 feet. We do have a gale warning in effect. Not venturing out, hopefully, anybody over the water. So right now we're continuing to see some high winds picking up. So once again, I'll tell you, Lauren and Liz, this is going to be a snowfall that many in our lifetime have never seen. Born and raised in New Orleans here, lived here all my life. At this point, from what I'm seeing, in my lifetime even, it's a snowfall that I don't think I've ever seen.
And again, Bruce, it's not just what's happening tomorrow, but like you said, what's happening those next couple of days with that ice.
Absolutely. So the next couple of days, as we talked about, coming in, it's really going to be a situation where temperatures on Wednesday likely not going to be above freezing long. So I really expect Wednesday to be on lockdown as well. Now, on Thursday, we do get some warming, but if roadways have any type of shade, even at 44 briefly, we could still see some patchy ice because we're going to get equivalent to at least rain, maybe up to about a half an inch to an inch. So all that melts and certainly can freeze. So even on Thursday, we'll be watching out, but I would expect tomorrow, no doubt, into most of Wednesday, roadways will have issues. We're hoping for Thursday, a bit of a thaw, and then Friday into the weekend, things will be getting back to normal. But hopefully you took those precautions because this is going to be some of the coldest air in a long, long time. Back to you.
Yeah, hope that's the worst of it for this winter so
Right.
far. Okay, thank you, Bruce.
All right, well, there was a rush to get out ahead of this storm at Armstrong International Airport this morning.
Now, workers there tell us the rush of people leaving town wasn't as large as when singer Taylor Swift was in town, but it was pretty close. Stephen Stock joins us now. Stephen.
Hey Liz, airport officials say some 40,000 people are expected to fly in and out of Louis Armstrong Airport today alone. Many of those folks I talked to told me they purposely changed their plans to get out ahead of this coming snow. Airlines are pushing to get as many flights out as they can. The last flights are scheduled for midnight tonight. Earlier today, Southwest and Spirit Airlines canceled all their flights for tomorrow, and we just learned just a few minutes ago all flights, at least until the late tomorrow, have been canceled for all airlines. All the airlines do have de-icing equipment here, but there are no snow plows, no removal equipment for getting ice off the runways and taxiways. It's ultimately up to the airlines and the FAA when to stop air operations.
The airport itself is going to remain open unless conditions become unfavorable and the airfield is inoperable, of course. But so the airport will remain available as long as we can. And then on top of that, the airlines are going to decide if they want to continue to attempt to operate. We do not have any kind of equipment, any of that specialized equipment to remove snow and ice accumulation from the airfield. And that's true of this airport and all the other airports in the southern region because we don't see that type of weather here but once every 10 years or even longer.
Aaron Burns told me that there won't be accommodations for passengers to sleep at the airport, even though the airport may remain open. So if your flight is canceled, you will be asked to leave and seek accommodations elsewhere. Because there is no snow or ice removing equipment at the airport, that means if it snows, we have to wait until the weather melts that snow. So it could be likely Thursday by midday or even later before the airport and all flights are moving again. Liz, Lauren?
Okay, thank you, Stephen. That's a lot of people out there
Yeah.
today. So earlier today, Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang laid out the biggest concerns with this winter storm.
I'll talk about some of the things that I'm most concerned about with the next 3 days. I'm most concerned about because this is not our normal, we're not used to this kind of weather. We don't rarely have, people don't have the equipment to drive in, icy and snow conditions. So really on the top of my list is the hazardous road conditions. So for that reason, we closed government. We're going to announce today we're going to close government as well on Wednesday. So, and we're doing that simply to make sure everybody stays off the roads and is safe with the icy conditions, and then maybe it'll melt in the day and then refreeze again at night. We just don't know exactly what this is going to look like the next couple days, but we do know the roads will be very hazardous. And many teams are looking at closing roads, and Mark will go over our procedures, but it's dangerous out there, and we're just asking everybody to stay home and shelter in place, if we'll call it that. My second concern is also with generator safety and space heater safety. We did lose, during Hurricane Ida, we lost many people with carbon monoxide poisoning. And we know if we have electrical outages, and a lot of people now have generators more than ever, we need to really be safe with our generator use and also our space heater uses. Especially an old space heater does not have the safety mechanisms that the newer space heater has. And we can go into more detail into those safety, but I also want to hit what we're really concerned about is our water pipes and potential breaks in the line. So we're asking everybody to really conserve their water use. And I'll let Mark go over more detail of why we don't want everybody to run their water and run their faucets. So I'll turn it over to Mark Drews, and he can go over some of those concerns that we have, and then I can come back and give you more information.
Obviously, water pressure maintaining is going to be one of the primary issues that we deal with through this event. Roughly over 60 psi is what we typically have pressure. It drops below 40, then we start having trouble fighting fires. And of course, if it goes below 20, we have to get into a boil water advisory. So a couple of things to know is basically, as the parish president said, we're asking people in slab houses not to run their water. You just need to wrap your pipes that are outside of the house, okay? Any faucets on the outside or your pipe that comes up and goes into your house. However, if you do have a raised house where those pipes can, get that cold weather and that wind, what we suggest is that you run just one faucet with a spaghetti-like drip, and it should be the faucet furthest from your intake. Wherever that water comes into your house, you want that furthest faucet. Typically, the water is going to come into your house toward the front of the house. But we have mobilized 130 water department employees, so as breaks occur, we will obviously mobilize our forces to first isolate those breaks. We'll prioritize those breaks for repairs because the whole goal is to minimize the amount of water that we lose through those breaks.
So once again, some really good information there.
Right.
And those snow flurries could be starting in parts of our area in less than 12 hours.
Meteorologist Bruce Katz, Chief Meteorologist Bruce Katz, and meteorologist Nikanda Norwood are back with a more comprehensive look at this winter storm. We are going to start with Bruce.
All right, we've been talking about this now for several days, that the models are coming into better agreement where we would likely see pretty much an all-snow event. Now, we get colder over the next couple of days with that snow and ice impacting travel not only tomorrow into likely Wednesday, even potentially Thursday. So we need to stay tuned to the forecast and officials to let us know what's happening as far as getting back to normal on the infrastructure. So we do have winter storm warnings all over the area, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. You don't see it that often. The models showing all snow, the American model and the European model, Canadian model, our graph model, so they're all in step where we have very high confidence of a major snow event. Now, 3 a.m., we do begin to see the snow moving in North Shore. It may start out with a little mix of sleet and snow on the South Shore between 4 and 7 a.m. But after that, 9 a.m., all snow. Through noon, all snow, a likely all-day snow event, even into 3 o'clock. Now, as we move beyond 3, notice on the North Shore, 3 to 5, snow comes to an end. South Shore between 5 and 7, that moves out, but then we plummet to overnight lows. Could see single digits to lower teens North Shore and around 20 to 24 South Shore. So that's why I'm saying likely Wednesday, even though we get some sun, it's going to be cold to the point where we may likely not get any thawing whatsoever. Now, snow history back in 1969, December 8th, we had all snow north and south. Laranger had 6 inches, Covington 2. Then we go back to 2009. Light snow, all rain south, that was on the North Shore. Kentwood got 3 inches back in 09. In 2008, we saw in December heavy snow north and south all over the area, 8 at Amite, 1 in NOLA, and then 2004, we all remember some of that snow on Christmas Day. Now, snow records, 1895, the highest at 10. Could we be challenging that in some areas? If we get a burst, we could, but there are some caveats. In 63, likely we may be at or break that. 58, we had 2 inches, and 73, we had just about a half, also in 2004. So as we take a look, here's your timing once again. Coming in the wee hours of the morning between 2 and 6, North Shore, between 6 and about 9, South Shore, all snow by 9 to 12. Some of the heavier amounts continue to build in all the way through the afternoon into the early evening. Snowfall, anywhere from 5 to 8 inches potentially, but we have a lot of dry air in place. So these numbers, I expect a lot of snow for us all. But would they be this high? If that dry air overtakes some of the moisture, these numbers could come down by 1 inch or 2. But still, we are going to see snow. These are some of the worst case scenarios, 5 to 8 with an isolated up to potentially 10-inch burst. 4 to 6, farther south, Lafitte toward Houma, and on the coast, down toward Port Fourchon, down toward areas of Grand Isle, even to Venice, 2 to 4, and farther south at 1 to 3. Our viewers on the Mississippi Gulf Coast could be looking at around 2 to 4 inches as well. So frigid weather continues to move in. Here is the beginning of that storm, and temperatures getting colder up north, where it's -7 at Minneapolis, 10 at Chicago. We're at 40, but we're not done with it. We have still more frigid air coming down the pipe to bring with it some very, very low temperatures. Tonight, North Shore, 24. North Shore, run the water, spaghetti thin. 14, you need to do it again on Wednesday. Some models we were looking at, Nicandra, Hannah, and I were looking at some models at around 8 to 9 potentially for an overnight low. Not the wind chill, the actual temperature. 20 on Thursday. So we're going to be running water the next 3 to 4 nights on the North Shore. On the South Shore, tonight water should be fine. You don't need to run it. 28 there with a light freeze, but likely Wednesday morning with a snowpack on the ground. 22, we will run water. 26, potentially Thursday morning, South Shore. We'll be updating you. I know this is a lot of information to take in, and then we gradually warm up going into the upcoming weekend. So Nicandra Norwood's going to step in, and she's going to give us more information on that, kind of a recap. And boy, Nick, those temperatures overnight, they're going to be frigid.
And that is some interesting temperatures to have to deal with. So that winter storm, it is getting closer and closer. That snow and ice will be moving in tonight. And we don't want to forget, I mean, we're excited. A lot of folks are excited about so much snow, more than most of us have ever seen in our lifetime, especially in the place that we live. But we also have to deal with frigid wind chills and those travel shutdowns. They're possible all the way through Thursday, because that's all going to depend on what we get to melt during the day, what evaporates, and how it refreezes overnight as we go through the next several days. So just looking at our timeline right now through the rest of today and tomorrow. Tonight, we're dry. If you got things to get it tonight, because tomorrow morning, by the time you wake up, even 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're going to already start to see some effects, and then things really ramp up through 5, 6 a.m. So we're going to be looking at that snow starting sometime after midnight. This is moving from west to east. Wintry mix is possible south, so you could see a little sleet mixed in, a little freezing rain that can cause that glaze that really makes roadways very hazardous. And then as we get deeper into this system, it's going all snow. We're expecting to see snow all the way down through Plaquemines Parish, down around maybe the mouth of the river. You get some pictures of snow. We're going to be looking for all of that tomorrow. Now into the evening hours, we do see that tapering off, but you're going to have those snowy, icy roads and frigid air keeping it all around. And that's going to continue with the clear skies, allowing all that heat to evaporate and just get on out of here and go on out into space. So then by Wednesday, it's going to be a frigid morning. Roadways are likely still going to be shut down and not very much in the way of melting. So black ice is a strong possibility as you head into the day. This is what it looks like right now as we've got that southwest flow allowing our low to get together along the Texas coast, seeing a little bit of icing, but the cold air has really taken hold over here. We've been watching this system continuing to kick that moisture north, and that's what we're going to be looking for. Right now, we're at a balmy 40. We're expecting those temperatures to go way down as we've got dew points. Look at that, single-digit dew points, 1 in Macomb. So not a lot of air here at the surface. That's going to keep things going. And as we go through our extended forecast, middle 30s during the day, that snow's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So make sure that you have everything to be able to stay in place for tonight, finally getting a little warming as we head into the weekend. Yeah, I know, it's only Monday.
Oh, right.
So
Took the words
true.
right out of my mouth, Nakantra.
Well, emergency leaders emphasizing the same thing Nakantra just said. Stay at home, given the expected dangerous conditions on the road.
Chris Welty is live with more on how the DOTD is working to keep some of the most crucial parts of our infrastructure passable. Chris.
Lauren, Liz, the storm has state leaders on high alert as we go into the day tomorrow. Now, the goal is to move equipment and treat roads before they freeze, but DOTD acknowledges they are up against Mother Nature. Now, if there is a need to close state routes, DOTD will talk with law enforcement and DOTD headquarters in Baton Rouge before doing so. DOTD's New Orleans region office mixed 6,000 gallons of brine. The department already treated the Bonnie Carey spillway. Residents and state leaders say they are prepared for potentially treacherous conditions.
Have been wrapped since last year. We just checked them to make sure they were still good. Put gas in the car in case I need it. Other than that, it's hurricane preparation. Just in another way.
We certainly don't want to wait to the very last minute where ice would take over and we would lose that structure. So there isn't all. We typically want to be there a number of hours ahead of time.
Over the weekend, DOTD secured another 100,000 pounds of rock salt, bringing the grand total to 500,000 pounds for the New Orleans region. Now that rock salt will help with traction. DOTD will focus on keeping Mississippi River crossings open, including the Crescent City Connection, Huey P. Long, and the Hale Boggs Bridge. The department will also focus on other priority routes for emergency crews. Now, drivers are urged to stay off the road, but if you are looking for updates on road conditions, you can always call 511 on your cell phone, or you can go to 511la.org for the most up-to-date travel information. Reporting live near the Crescent City Connection, Chris Welty, Fox 8 Local First.
All right, Chris, thank you. And again, DOTD working on those roads there, but there are people right now who are rushing to get their last-minute groceries, going to grocery stores to stock up on those essential supplies ahead of the storm.
Ton Trong joining us live from the Rouse's grocery store on Airline. Ton.
Well, Liz, Lauren, this location, this Rouse's location, and all Rouse's locations will be operating on normal hours today and tonight. But starting tomorrow, all locations throughout Louisiana will be closed. And just as we see during hurricanes and ahead of hurricanes, folks here are making that final rush on groceries right before this winter storm that's forecasted for us. Now, workers here say the rush on groceries really started on Friday, and that really hasn't let up. We spoke with several customers, and they told us they're picking up the essentials, bread, water, and snacks. There's a mix of nervousness, but also anticipation, since it's been many years since some people have seen snow, if ever. Joining me now is Mark Ardwin. He's the store director for this market, for this Rouse's market. So, Mark, compare this to a hurricane versus this expected winter storm. What's it like?
It's very similar. We're seeing a lot of the same items getting picked up, water, bread, that kind of stuff, but everybody's getting cold weather items too. Stewed meat, stuff for gumbo, making those home-cooked meals at home to keep you warm.
So when you start seeing people coming in here, the rush, there was a lull here, but people are going to be getting off work. What's it like trying to keep everything in stock, because people, you know, are always going to make that run on water and canned goods, so on and so forth?
We got a lot of experience with hurricanes, being prepared for something like this. So our team at the home office, everybody at all the stores, they're all getting together early and getting orders. We know what we're going to go through, so we're able to get ahead of it. Some things are a little bit of a surprise, but I've seen a lot of people coming and getting more snack food for the grandkids that are going to be off of school this time.
So would you call this panic buying or preparation buying? Because, you know, we see this for hurricanes, but what's it like for winter storms?
I think this is over preparation buying is what we're seeing here. I haven't really seen any panic. Everybody's been super friendly. The team's been doing great, but they're just getting ready for what's to come because we don't know what else is going to happen.
All right, Mark Ardwin, store director here for the Rouses on Airline Highway. And we also visited a couple of other stores in terms of trying to see what they're going to do for preparations. We visited a clothing store, Massey's, and we'll have that story coming up in later editions of Fox 8. Reporting live here on Airline Highway, Ton Trung, Fox 8, Local First.
All right, Ton, thank you very much. Tomorrow's winter storm could lead to icy road conditions across our area, like we've been telling you. NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick shared that officers will be deployed ahead of this storm to help with road closures.
I'm one of those department heads as well who has lived and worked in snow. So it is something that you're going to be just fine in, but just use common sense. And so a couple of things that I want to share with you about NOPD is that we are going to be at 100% staffing. Our officers are going to mirror the rest of the departments in that we're doing 12-hour shifts. Now, the main things that are going to impact you is that we are going to be a bit more proactive about closing the streets before people get out there and are on a skating rink, okay? So we know the snow is coming in, probably at dawn in the morning. When you wake up tomorrow, you're going to see snow. We are going to close mainly those streets where there's elevation, such as on-ramps to get up onto the interstate, the bridges, things like that. That's the main impact that we're going to start those closures. We're going to post those streets for you. You're going to be able to see which ones that we're going to be shutting down. They will be barricaded and staffed. An officer will be out there at a closure, all right? All of our officers, you know, our normal uniform is a lighter blue shirt and dark pants, but they're all going to go in the tactical uniform, which I'm wearing today. So those are all NOPD officers. Please work with them. So they're going to be out there in the elements for 12 hours. They're going to be quite cold like the rest of people, but they're going to use common sense as well. We recognize life is life. And although we are going to ask you not to go out onto the streets, we do know that there are times that you may need to get out on the streets. So just work with us, and we're going to work with you. One of the things I cannot emphasize enough, and the mayor's already said it, but if you get out in the street and there is a traffic accident, if there are no injuries, please use the 504-821-2222. Take a photograph, take a picture of the damage. Exchange information with the other person. Just take a picture of that license, take a picture of their insurance, and you can deal with that later, okay? And something a lot of people don't know, but from my other experiences, you're going to want to, on the day, even like today, where you're going to want to warm your car up before you get in it, please lock it while you are warming it, okay? Don't invite invitations for people who are criminally minded and want to take your car. Lock your car while you're warming, okay? Things of that nature. Be sure you take care and watch for your neighbors, particularly elderly people, folks. If you have an elder in your neighborhood, check on them. Make sure that they have food or whatever they need. And so that's really kind of it for my report, Madam Mayor.
And in case you're just joining us, we'd like to get back to our weather team now with more on this winter storm.
Bruce Katz in Conde Norwood have your first look alert to this dangerous cold and snow. What's the update, Bruce?
Well, the update is the snow is going to be coming and could be heavy at times. And putting out that first alert for likely, we're going to be challenging a half a century to a century historic storm total. Starting tomorrow morning early, heavy snow and travel will become dangerous. And the only way to get rid of dangerous is to not get on the roadways at all. We do have winter storm warnings all of the area, with that even down to the Gulf of Mexico. As we take a look at the timing, it's frigid tonight, turning windy. Here comes our winter storm moving in at 3 a.m. Some of the snow begins on the North Shore. Now early, it may start out South Shore and coast as a little mixture of sleet and snow. But after 7 to 8 o'clock, look what happens. All snow, all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. Here's noon, a steady snow all day. At times, could see moderate flakes, at times could see heavier snow. So with that, we're looking at very frigid conditions and an all-day snow event coming to an end likely in the early evening. By 3 o'clock on the northwestern side of Tangipahoa, it begins to end. But at 3 o'clock, still most of the South Shore, Mississippi Gulf Coast sees that snow continuing. Now by 5, it begins to move out of the North Shore, starts to end on the South Shore, and by 8 to 9, we're pretty much done with it. But the problem is, with a snowpack on the ground and frigid air coming out of the north with no modification due to all the snow and ice, it is going to be a frigid morning coming in with those temperatures in the lower 20s to the upper 20s. So we will be looking out for that. Now, Wednesday morning, even much colder as we continue to watch. So once again, tonight, upper 20s to right around 28 on the South Shore, and then on the North Shore, 24. But Wednesday morning, I'm going to show you those numbers in just a moment, will be the coldest morning with potentially single digits north. Now on Wednesday, we get some sunshine, but temperatures remain cold. So will it begin to melt by Wednesday or Thursday? That's going to be the key. We could see travel issues all the way likely through Wednesday, even potentially into Thursday morning. So the timing, snow starts after midnight in the morning hours. Wintry mix turns to all snow by 7 to 8. By noon, areas of snow, heavy at times. During the evening, between 5 and 7, snow tapers off, but still icy roads. And at night, we clear and temperatures begin to plummet. So Wednesday, single-digit North Shore temperatures far north. Potentially, we're going to go right now 13 to 14, but we could see a 9 to 10, so we will be updating that. An extreme freeze on Wednesday morning. On noon, coming in sunny, but maybe a minimal thaw because temperatures not getting above freezing all that long. What does melt will begin to refreeze. So once again, we could see some of that black ice developing. And black ice is no joke. You can't see it, you hit it, and you can easily skid off the roadways. We're just not used to it. That's why officials are saying stay home. If you do not have to travel, just stay put. How much snowfall? Lower end 5 inches, higher end up to 8 inches for the North Shore and the Metro, 4 to 6 farther south. Lafitte, Houma, down toward areas of Grand Isle at 2 to 4. Mississippi Gulf Coast at about 3 to 5 inches. And right now, coldest of air continues north, but it will begin to settle south. Look at these numbers, 15 to 30 below zero. That cold air continues our way. So the freeze outlook for tonight, North Shore, tonight, run the water, 24 degrees on the North Shore. Spaghetti thin line, 14, potentially lower on Wednesday, 20 on Thursday. So next 3 nights, likely running water on the North Shore, 26 on Friday, 28 Saturday. Now, many people have said, what about hot water or cold water? If your hot water heater is in an attic where you could get freezing temperatures in the attic, turn both of them on to that trickle. If it's in the garage or insulated somewhere down home in your utility room, hot water should be fine. But if you're in the attic with that hot water heater, you may want to run the water just to be safe on the hot side. Then, South Shore, tonight, no need to run the water. We will be running it on Wednesday morning at 22, likely 26 on Thursday, and then gradually, although cold, we do begin to warm up quite a bit. So, freeze preps tonight, North Shore, pipes need to be run. Plants, pets, people, we've been talking about this, and the Condra, we've been telling people for so long, you got to take those precautions. And already we're seeing that storm down toward Brownsville.
And hopefully you are almost done with those preparations because, yes, we are getting into the thick of it now. We had our first freeze this morning, and here is the system. You start to see just a little bit of icing where some of that moisture is beginning to make its way into that cold air across South Texas. This is going to become more defined as what we're looking at here is the southwest flow that has continued to just bring in these disturbances. You know, it was rainy day, you get a break. Rainy day, you get a break. Well, the timing now, we got that deep cold. It's bringing over another one of those storm systems to give us another rainy day. Here we are as we head into the evening hours. We're about 4:45. We still got a little bit of sunshine around, so we're 40 out of the airport, 42 in Slide Out. But as soon as we lose that sun, those temperatures are going to plummet. Look at our dew points. This is some dry air. I know you already feel it because you've been pulling out the chapstick and you maybe need the nasal spray and the lotion. The dew point is 1 in Macomb, 11 at the airport, 14 in Houma. And when you have those clear skies out there, you say light winds, that's where your temperatures go up. Fortunately, we've still got lots of wind around and we're about to get a little bit more moisture injected in here, but it is all coming together in an interesting way. So this breeze continuing, it's going to pick up again as that low gets closer. Still got wind chills going on though. It's felt like it was in the 30s all day long. 34 out of the airport is what it feels like, and 38 in Slide Out. And over the next 24 hours, look at these temperatures. We're going to see temperatures plummeting again. As soon as that sun goes away, we're going back to freezing, and we should stay below freezing. Look at this, north of the lake, at least 24 hours. Look at where those temperatures are. As we go into your day on Wednesday, you're not going to see a whole lot of warm up, and it's not all that much better on the South Shore. Well, look at this, they're pretty close to freezing, if not dipping down below that freezing mark over the 24-hour period. So that's going to keep all that snow stuck to the ground and maybe make it a little bit more difficult to get it out of here and get our roadways cleared off. Now, the bright spot, we do finally start to warm up as we head towards the weekend, but I know we're talking weekend. Today's only Monday. Tomorrow, tonight, you want to be in place so that all day tomorrow, you don't have to get out in this mess. Wednesday, probably going to have that same situation. And then maybe by midday Thursday, we start to see some significant melting in our roadways, looking a lot better, but we're going to stay on it. Back over to you guys.
All right, Nikandra, thank you very much. And just into our newsroom this afternoon, the causeway will be going to 1 lane only, and that's starting at 7 tonight. That's both northbound and southbound. Again, if you are planning to cross the Causeway Bridge, expect it to be limited to just 1 lane starting at 7. Fire chiefs from across the area came together to stress the importance of safety during this winter weather event. They announced departments are teaming up to help respond to emergencies that may arise. They say stay off the roads if you don't have to be on them to help keep everyone, including first responders, safe. Also, be careful with your space heaters. Do not leave them unattended. St. Bernard Fire Chief Earl Borden says if you run water to keep your pipes from freezing, make sure it's a pencil-sized stream and nothing more.
With that amount of water being run in all the residents and businesses, it lowers the water pressure for our firefighters. Should an incident happen, that is one of the most critical resources that we have is the water pressure from the city lines. So let's all do our part to try to minimize that.
The chiefs also stress if you haven't used your fireplace in a while, don't use it. New Orleans Fire Department says a fire that broke out in New Orleans East this morning was because of a fireplace. Jefferson Parish deputies are also investigating a deadly fire in Bridge City that happened last night.
Well, much more coverage of this extraordinary rare winter weather here event just ahead. Fox 8 News at 5 is next.
Get ready for Super Bowl licks.
No, that's Super Bowl 59, Gronk.
It's going down live in the Big Easy with performances by John Batiste, Lauren Daigle, and Lettucey. Tubi red carpet with Olivia Culpo. An appearance by Gordon Ramsay. And the guys break down the big game with Kevin and Tom on the call.
Fun fact, I played with Tom.
We know. everyone knows. It's the Super Bowl pregame show.
Live on Fox.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here. Immerse yourself in stunning video. Feel the power of movie theater quality sound and consistent volume across channels. Get the most out of live coverage with enhanced internet content. Next Gen TV, designed to be upgradable with the advancements of tomorrow. The future of television has arrived. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
He's worked in Miami, Dallas, San Francisco.
The sources I've developed both on the East Coast and on the West Coast still talk to me.
An award-winning investigative journalist with decades of experience.
My passion is literally making a difference and using journalism to do that.
Is now here at Fox 8.
I'm actually flattered that I'm here because this is the best job in the world.
Watch Chief Investigative Reporter Stephen Stock, only on Fox 8, local first.
Tonight, it's round 2 for the Pels as they host Utah again, right here at home. Eve on the hammer! And it's time to let them know where the real Jazz comes from. Tonight, 6:30, it's Jazz Pels. You can watch it for free. All you need is an antenna to get the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. You're home for the Pelicans all season long.
From Fox 8, this is breaking news.
A fountain on the North Shore previews what's to come, a storm that will transform the landscape into a winter wonderland. On the flip side, concerns the historic snowfall will create dangerous conditions. That's prompted leaders to already announce the closure of some roads as a precaution.
We want you home. If you don't have anywhere to be, please be home.
Meanwhile, officials in multiple parishes urge people to conserve water as they try to balance neighbors' efforts to keep pipes from bursting and maintaining water pressure during this multi-day event. Good evening, I'm Meg Gatto.
And I'm John Snell. The forecast tells us that the area has not seen this kind of winter storm in 130 years.
The ice and snow will move in overnight. Chief Meteorologist Bruce Katz shows us which areas could see the most snow and how many days we can expect to shelter in place.
Well, get ready. This is going to be a snow event. We get progressively colder. First alert for potential of significant ice and snow over the next 24 hours. We need to stay tuned to the forecast for any updates. Winter storm warnings for the entire area all the way down to the Gulf Coast and all the way eastward over to Biloxi. As we take a look, precipitation chances start ramping up between 3 and 5, but really by 7 to 8, they pick up from 80 to 100% through the afternoon, and then by 5 to 7, everything comes to an end tomorrow evening. As we take a look, the models have been really agreeing on snow all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. This has actually shifted south, where likely we will not see much, if any, mix, even down to the mouth of the river at Boothville and Venice. Frigid weather moving in, and with that, here comes the snow. 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, starting North Shore likely. Now, the South Shore may start with a little bit of snow and sleet, but quickly, by 9, it all transitions pretty much to snow, and that snow continues from 9 a.m. all day through noon, pretty much nonstop all day through 3 o'clock, and then by 4 to 5, North Shore begins to dry out. South Shore between 5 and 7, everything begins to move eastward, so more so it's going to be an event from around 5 to 6 in the morning through about 4 to 5 in the afternoon, almost a 12-hour event of snow continuously falling in southeast Louisiana and coastal Mississippi. Now, as we move into Wednesday, likely it's going to stay cold enough to where we may not see much thawing even into Thursday morning. So although sun comes out, we may not see those temperatures get warm enough for a thaw. So that's where we'll come in and give you those updates. But for now, like all officials have been saying, after midnight tonight, stay put, lock down, at least through midday on your Wednesday. 5 to 8 inch potential on the immediate North Shore into the metro. Down to areas near Houma, down to Lafitte, Jean Lafitte, potentially 4 to 6, 2 to 4 much farther south toward Venice and Boothville at about 1 to 3. On the Mississippi Gulf Coast, potentially up to 2 to 4 inches, and already we're beginning to see that system developing as it does begin to move our way. Right now, temperatures already in the 30s on the North Shore, away from the lake in the 30s from Galliano to Houma, 40 to 42 here. Now the dew points, these are incredible numbers. 1 degree dew point. You know, in the summer, we talk about 75, 78 dew points. It is so muggy. There's so much moisture. This is bone dry air, even 10 to 14 coming in on the South Shore. The only one thing that may inhibit the highest numbers of snowfall would be the dry air in place. So if the dry air overtakes a little bit of the moisture, as opposed to 4 to 8, it may be 1 to 3. But we're still going to get snow, so don't worry about that. But we will be updating the forecast. We're going to go with the worst case scenario now on the higher end, potentially at 4 to 8 inches. Right now, the wind's pretty breezy out there, anywhere from 8 to 12 miles per hour, making it feel like the lower 30s on the North Shore, mid to upper 30s on the South Shore, over at Waveland at 33. And tonight, you need to run the water on the North Shore, rather. 24 degrees there. North Shore, run that pencil thin or spaghetti thin line of water from the furthest away from the water intake. 24 degrees. Potentially 14 North Shore on Wednesday. But some models are rerunning, now updating potentially 8 to 10 degrees. So we'll update that as well. Next 3 mornings, all North Shore waters need to be protected and running. And tonight, we're looking at starting that trickle of water on the North Shore. South Shore tonight, you'll be fine. Clouds are moving in, 28, but on Wednesday morning, we need to run the water. Now, a lot of people have been calling in, do I run the hot? Do I run the cold? Do I run them together? If your hot water heater is, say, in the attic, and the attic can get below freezing, you need to run both that trickle. If your hot water heater, like mine is in my garage, pretty well insulated, I don't need to run the hot. If it's in this inside of the house with a utility room, you don't need to run the water. But if your hot water heater is in the attic and it gets cold enough to freeze up there, that's when you would need your hot and cold. If not, cold water. So those temperatures continue to fall. Tonight, we will see those temperatures falling to near freezing by morning as snow does begin. So I'll tell you, John and Meg, this is going to be a situation where likely in people's lifetime, they've never seen this much snow in New Orleans. I know in my years here, this was likely to be the biggest snow event that at least I've ever seen.
I'm fascinated by this dew point of 1.
Right.
I think it was Macomb. I mean, is it a question of does the Gulf moisture overpower that, or does it kind of like a hurricane zap a hurricane? What happens here?
Well, and that's a good point. This air at 1 to 6 degrees, we're talking bone dry. I mean, this is extremely dry air. You would see up in Minneapolis, you would see up in Bismarck, up in North Dakota. Now, single-digit dew points, very dry air. As the moisture from the low pulls in, these dew points come up, but if that colder air inhibits and dries out the atmosphere before it hits the ground, naturally, we can see on radar it looks like a lot of snow, but as it does evaporate, potentially with dry air, we may not get those accumulations up to, say, 4 to 6 inches. It may be down to 1 to 3. But nevertheless, good question, John. Dry air can certainly dry out the atmosphere to a point where, yes, we're going to get snow, no doubt, but it may be less snow. I mean, John, in your years, how many times have you seen a 1 or a 6 degree dew point in South Louisiana?
Not that I ever remember.
Right.
It's pretty unprecedented.
That's why I'm saying in our lifetime, this is going to be likely one of the biggest snow events that many of us have ever seen. And the kids are going to love it. The dogs are going to love it. But travel, stay put. Enjoy it at home. Use that fire safety. Use the fireplace safety. Don't travel and just get out and enjoy it. And if you get cold, go into the house and kind of warm up. But again, dew points in the single digits, just incredible. I've really never seen this either myself. Back to you.
Now we know what they mean by the snow cone.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce. All right, crews were out this morning salting the I-10 over the Bonnie Carey Spillway. The state's focused on major bridges and priority routes. Chris Welty is live near the Crescent City connection with details about the effort to keep at least some of the major roads open.
John, yeah, that is the major goal. DOTD acknowledges that while they are moving equipment in place and they're starting to pre-treat some of the roads, they're up against Mother Nature.
Ahead of the winter blast, drivers are filling up and finalizing preparations.
I've declared the week a pajama week.
I love it. I love it.
Once I get home, I'm not leaving again.
Tina Prowl from Wagaman is ready for whatever the storm brings.
Pipes have been wrapped since last year. We just checked them to make sure they were still good. Put gas in the car in case I need it. Other than that, it's hurricane preparation. Just in another way.
The storm has leaders statewide on alert. The Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development's New Orleans office mixed 6,000 gallons of brine. The department already treated the Bonacary spillway.
We certainly don't want to wait to the very last minute where ice would take over and we would lose that structure. So there isn't all. We typically want to be there a number of hours ahead of time.
Over the weekend, DOTD secured another 100,000 pounds of rock salt, bringing their grand total to 500,000 pounds for the New Orleans region.
We're certainly prepared to use all of it, and we feel that we will end up needing that.
DOTD will focus on keeping Mississippi River crossings open, including the Crescent City Connection, Huey P. Long, and the Hale Boggs Bridge. The department will also focus on other priority routes for emergency crews.
Danziger Bridge, the St. Claude Bridge, the Judge Seba Bridge, the bridges along Chef Highway in eastern New Orleans, Wrigley's, and Chef Pass. So we have a whole list of them. We have crews that are going to be designated and responsible throughout this event to ensure that we're doing our best to try to keep those priority routes open.
While the goal is to move equipment and treat roads before they freeze, DOTD acknowledges they are up against Mother Nature.
That's a very serious decision to close the interstate. So certainly we will confer with law enforcement as well as our headquarters section in Baton Rouge before we make any plans to do that. But having said that, we will have traffic control devices staged at on-ramps throughout the New Orleans area on I-10 in the event that we get to that point.
DOTD, as well as other agencies, they'll be sending out press releases if they do decide to close any roads. But of course, you can get the most up-to-date travel information by going to 511la.org, or you can call 511 on your smartphone to get the most up-to-date traffic information. But it could be quite a sight to see if we have snow coming down and you have the Mardi Gras lights on the Crescent City Connection behind you. Something that I think I'm really looking forward to possibly seeing tomorrow morning. Reporting live along the Crescent City Connection, Chris Welty, Fox 8 Local First.
Hadn't thought about that one. All right, thanks, Chris. Just into the newsroom now. In the last 20 minutes or so, the causeway will go to one lane tonight. If you are planning to cross the Causeway Bridge, expect it to be limited to one lane starting at 7 p.m.
Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang says officials' primary concern is keeping people off the roads because most don't have the equipment to drive in snowy or icy conditions. All Jefferson Parish government buildings will close Tuesday and Wednesday as part of that effort.
We just don't know exactly what this is going to look like the next couple days, but we do know the roads will be very hazardous, and many teams are looking at closing roads.
The parish planned to close the Cleary Avenue overpass in Metairie just a few minutes ago at 5. On the west bank, the Lapalco high-rise closed earlier this afternoon, and Lapalco Bridge, or the Laplace Bridge rather, over the Harvey Canal is currently down to one lane. Officials stress that if you need to travel for emergency reasons, stick to surface roads.
Entergy New Orleans leadership tells us that the utility does not expect widespread outages in the city.
Chris Joseph tells us questions remain on how quickly repair teams could restore power if needed.
Now, Entergy New Orleans and Louisiana report they have 1,600 workers available in the state to make repairs if and when they're needed, but it's unclear how easy it will be for those workers to get to where they need to go. Mayor LaToya Cantrell indicated the city will likely close elevated roadways before midnight tonight to keep drivers off the frozen roads. Now, if there is an outage, Entergy New Orleans Vice President Nika Scott says the utility has the ability to reroute power. However, if the outage requires repairs, the weather will drive how quickly the electricity can be restored. The utility does not expect significant damage to the system, however.
Repairs, restoration will depend on the road conditions. It is not a successful restoration unless it is a safe restoration. So our crews will not be out in bucket trucks until the winds die down below 30 miles per hour. And the roads the icy roads will slow them down just getting to locations to make repairs.
Now, Scott says she cannot give a timeline on the repairs. She says Entergy has suspended disconnections and planned outages through next Monday. That's the 27th. The utility says it's also preemptively trimmed trees to head off damage to the power lines in the next few days. John?
Thanks, Chris. CLECO says it has secured an additional 500 contractors, including line mechanics, ahead of the storm. All of its current plants are currently staffed above their normal levels, operating levels, to help with the response, so they say they've got plenty of staff.
LCMC says its hospitals will be on lockdown for staff and patients starting tonight at 7. Outpatient clinics will close tomorrow. Ochsner says all of its hospitals' emergency departments will remain open. However, LCMC urgent care locations will close tonight at 7 and remain closed tomorrow. North Shore officials begin salting dozens of bridges in anticipation of hard freezes on the way, and all parish schools and office buildings will be closed for the next 2 days.
Rob Masson has that story now from the North Shore.
Yeah, John, not only are the North Shore officials starting to put salt on some of the overpasses, but over on the causeway, as we've been reporting, they're going to be restricting that to one lane in about an hour and a half. Causeway officials say that they'll begin putting out cones to try and restrict traffic to just one lane. They're hoping that by doing that, by keeping one lane open, the friction from those cars will be able to keep that lane open, primarily for emergency vehicles, since they're asking everybody to try and stay off the roads. Otherwise, they're urging all drivers to stay home. Meantime, across the North Shore, residents are stocking up on pipe insulation, firewood, and space heaters. Parish officials urge residents to run just a small trickle of water to keep their pipes from freezing, and they had this advice for people using portable generators.
If you use a portable generator, please keep it outdoors and away from all doors, windows, and vents. If you use a space heater, make sure that you keep the space heaters away from curtains, rugs, clothing, and anything that could possibly start a fire.
If we get generally snow, that's better to deal with. Obviously, it's fluffy; it can be blown out the way. What would be bad is when that snow goes to melt. Obviously, the temperature will warm up above freezing. Likely, I don't know so much tomorrow, but likely come Wednesday. And when that goes to melt, and then once the sun goes down, that obviously it's going to refreeze again.
So they're going to be watching conditions minute by minute over the next 2 to 3 days. Wednesday could be the most problematic day if that snow does melt. Now, parish officials say the Giving Hope Retreat shelter is open in Lacombe for people who need a warm place to stay. They're also urging residents to protect their pets as well as their pipes. They say the parish animal shelter is fully staffed. And they say if you need any last-minute supplies, now is the best time to go out and do that, because beginning tomorrow morning, conditions are expected to deteriorate. From the North Shore, Rob Masson, Fox 8 Local First. Back to you.
All right, Rob, thank you. Let's bring Chief Meteorologist Bruce Katz back in now. So, Bruce, it sounds like it's not the amount of snowfall that's going to be the problem, although some areas could see a large amount of snow, but it's also the potential for freezing roads. That's why people need to stay off the roadways tomorrow and into Wednesday.
That's right. I had someone ask me, well, Bruce, if it's snowing, it's really not like a frozen roadway. Well, the problem is, as it falls as snow and then it begins to melt a little bit during daytime highs, that water refreezes into ice. So it's really, the snow is an issue to drive in, but the really aftermath is going to be with the thawing and refreezing on the roadways. So that's really the biggest issue, Meg. Historic winter storm. This is likely to be the biggest storm that we've seen as far as winter storms in a half to a full century. Starting tomorrow morning, heavy snow expected and travel becoming dangerous. Now, to take dangerous out of the equation, just don't go anywhere. You don't have to travel. Do not go out. It's going to be treacherous and frigid conditions. We do have those big winter storm warnings in effect for all areas down to the Gulf of Mexico. Well, let's take a look at some of those past years. And in 1895, that was Valentine's Day, 10 inches of snow. Now in 63, that was New Year's Eve at 4.5 inches. So we're going to be battling from 1895 to 1963, a half a century to over a century, over 130 years in fact, potentially the most snow we've ever seen in our lifetime for many of us, and likely this will be one of the biggest in my lifetime. And I've been here for years and years, born and raised. 2 inches in 58, half an inch almost in 73, and 04 we had coming in just about a half an inch. So let's time it out for you. Now tonight, we're going to see clouds moving in. We are expecting freezing temperatures north and south, but North Shore, you need to run the water tonight. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment more in detail. When does it begin? Here is 3 a.m. So follow on the timestamp. North Shore begins to see some of the light snow moving in. South Shore on the coast, we will begin with a mix of sleet and some snow. Now by 7 o'clock, all snow north, coming in after 7 to 9, all snow south, and this snow will be persistent and continuing all day long. I don't think we're going to see much of a break of snow for 12 hours, believe it or not. Here's 9 a.m., moving to noon, moderate to heavy snow at times, all the way through 3 o'clock, still moderate to heavy snow. Now by 4 to 5, on the northern end, we see the North Shore tapering off by 5 o'clock, and by 6 to 7, the low pulls away, and then the snow ends, skies clear, and temperatures tumble to potentially some single digits North Shore to lower 20s and teens on the South Shore. What about snow and how much? Anywhere Mississippi Gulf Coast, up to 2 to 4. In the metro, potentially on the higher side, up to 8 inches. On the North Shore, coming in on the immediate area from basically the extreme northern end of St. Tammany down to the lake, up to 5 to 8. Now, a little less snow potential because the moisture begins to really weaken farther north, but still Bogalusa. You could be looking Franklinton, northern end toward a meet, up to 2 to 4 inches of snow as well. Farther south, Houma down to Lafitte at about 4 to 6, and down to Boothville, Venice at about 1 to 3. The profile of the atmosphere, that depends on if you get snow, sleet, or freezing rain. It could be 29 at the surface, but if you've got a warm nose of air at, say, 4,000 feet in the upper 30s to low 40s, yes, it falls as snow. If this is above freezing, it melts, and then it comes into a cold layer and becomes sleet. But when you've got temperatures of the profile of the air and the air mass in the atmosphere below freezing the entire time, this is a full-on snow event. So here's Metro New Orleans, all snow. As we take a look at the river parishes, all snow coming in throughout the day. Then we move toward the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Temperatures below freezing, the entire column of air, all snow. And then finally, all the North Shore below coming in as all snow. So this is going to be a snow event. We're cold now at 40, but farther north, Minneapolis is 9 below. We've got a ton of colder air moving south, so we're not done with it yet. That's why, as everything comes together, the temperatures tumble. Tonight, North Shore, run a trickle of water, pencil lead thin or spaghetti thin on the North Shore. 24 there, run it. Nicandra took a call. Water heaters, hot water heaters, call them what you want, but if you have a hot water heater or a water heater in your attic that gets below freezing, turn on the hot water, a trickle as well. If it's in, say, your laundry room in the house, you're fine. You don't need to run hot water. If it's in your garage, like mine is in my garage in Metairie, it's insulated, I don't need to run it. But if it's in the attic and you get well below freezing, you may warn the South Shore. 14, definitely all precautions needed. 20 on Thursday. So the next 3 to 4 mornings, North Shore needs to run the water. Tonight, South Shore 28. No need South Shore to run water. In the metro, South Shore, no need to run the water. But Wednesday morning, we do, and Thursday morning as well, and then things begin to wrap up then. So here's a look now at Nicandra, going over the recap of all precautions and temperatures as we move through the evening.
And that's right. I know everyone's excited about the potential for snow, but we are still dealing with the coldest part of this system, and that's not going to be until Wednesday morning. So you have to continue to just stay on it with these full freeze precautions. We're expecting to see about 24 hours or maybe even more below freezing for many locations as this system continues to develop along the Texas coast and move east. We got a little bit of icing on the edge there, but we're going to see that moving along. This is the visible satellite giving you that daytime picture. Cold air is all settled in, and now we've got that moisture that's overrunning and moving across it, all following along in that southwest flow. Remember, we had rainstorm after rainstorm, and now this time the cold is here to bring us a snowstorm. So temperatures currently in the upper 30s and low 40s, but they are going to be dropping quickly, those dry dew points. Now, we are starting to see our clouds build in, and that will make a difference. The breezy conditions, though, do make it feel colder, and expect to see that cold feels like temperature right into the day tomorrow, which I want you to pay attention to. I know everybody's going to want to go out and get into this snowfall, and it's going to be coming down at this time, but look at what wind chills will feel like midday. This is 11 a.m. teens. So you want to make sure everybody is wrapped up really well, and as we go out and get a chance to enjoy some of this, you definitely have to have all of those full precautions as we continue, because we are going to need to have plenty of your full weather gear, your hats, your gloves, your scarves, as you are getting out and about, because you can run into some serious issues with those kinds of temperatures.
So, Bruce, there are people watching who have to be out on the roadways tomorrow. Let's say they're first responders, for example. Right. Is your advice to them to get out on the roadways early, to get to work early ahead of time before this stuff comes in?
Absolutely. Earlier the better. I would say, a cutoff time between, say, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. And if you do have to get out and about, first responders we're talking, try and get on road levels. I mean, ground level, not the overpasses. So sometimes, and Meg and I were saying, if we tried to go home, what roads would we use? But ground level would be your best bet. But even still, ground level will be freezing too. So, good thought where if you have to get out, do it before 5 a.m. because it's coming.
I mean, the range of this is incredible. The fact that you're looking at snow in Grand Isle.
And again, we said century records may be broken around here, because this is a situation where we don't often have these Arctic outbursts, but then even when you do, you got to have the moisture coming in at the right time, and this is actually just all lining up.
The stars are aligning. That's what I say.
I like Arctic outburst. That's kind of what
it is. It's an outburst, baby.
It's what it is. Guys, thanks. Some 40,000 people packed Armstrong International today to try to get out ahead of the storm.
Fox 8's Stephen Stock was at the airport to get the plans for anyone trying to fly out of or into New Orleans in the next few days.
Meg, I talked to several groups of travelers who said they moved up their plans to today to get out ahead of the storm, including one couple who had planned to leave Wednesday for a cruise in Florida. They decided to leave today and spend a few extra days in Orlando. And a lot of people like them caused lines in front of airline ticket counters to be long for most of the day. Southwest and Spirit Airlines earlier in the day both decided to cancel all their flights here for tomorrow, and they say they're watching the weather and could cancel Wednesday as well. Late this afternoon, I found out all airlines appear to be following suit.
It is possible that airlines may decide to cancel all their flights tomorrow. And this is going to be an ongoing thing throughout the day. Airlines are still making those decisions. So that's why there's no clear answer just yet, because the airlines are still trying to figure out how they can get people to where they need to go. From what we're hearing, this is going to be the biggest snow event since the 1960s in New Orleans. So definitely a historic snow event. Of course, we've seen situations where there have been ice and those sorts of issues, but snow is definitely different for us in this lifetime.
Now, the last two flights are scheduled out at Armstrong International at precisely midnight tonight. Flights scheduled for tomorrow, 5:30 a.m. But again, I've just been told those have been canceled. However, I was told some airlines may try to squeeze in some later flights depending on how this storm plays out. So pay attention. And if you have any questions, call your airline. By 7 or 8, everything's going to be shut down there at the airport until as late as perhaps Thursday around noon. And that's because although each airline does have de-icing equipment there, the airport itself does not have any snow or ice removal equipment. So what do they have to do? They have to wait on the sun and the weather to melt all the snow. So if you're planning to fly in the next couple of days, you need to check with your airline and pay attention to the weather. John, Meg?
All right, thank you, Stephen. Donald Trump is sworn in for his second term as President of the United States inside the U.S. Capitol. As Connor Hansen reports, Trump wasted no time signing a number of executive orders to start his second term.
A stark contrast for two presidents as Donald Trump takes office for the second time in a day packed with events, and Joe Biden leaves Washington as a private citizen after more than 50 years in public office. former President Biden shaking hands with his predecessor and now successor, President Donald Trump. The 45th and now 47th president kickstarting his second term with a flurry of executive orders and committing again to release those imprisoned after the January 6th insurrection.
It's action, not words, that count. And you're going to see a lot of action on the J6 hostages.
So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations.
Frigid temperatures forced the swearing-in ceremony indoors, where shortly after, Carrie Underwood sang America the Beautiful a cappella. Later, Trump addressed an overflow crowd and admitted his inauguration speech was toned down compared to some of the topics he wanted to bring up.
I was going to talk about the things that Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow.
Because of the cold, there will also be no inaugural parade. Instead, President Trump will join supporters inside Capital One Arena, signing even more executive orders in front of about 20,000 people. In Washington, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Much more of our coverage of the winter storm that's coming ahead at 5:30.
Get ready for Super Bowl licks.
No, that's Super Bowl 59, Gronk.
It's going down live in the Big Easy with performances by John Batiste, Lauren Daigle, and Ledisi. Tubi red carpet with Olivia Culpo. An appearance by Gordon Ramsay. And the guys break down the big game with Kevin and Tom on the call.
Fun fact, I played with Tom.
We know. Everyone knows. It's the Super Bowl pregame show.
Live on Fox.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here. Immerse yourself in stunning video. Feel the power of movie theater quality sound and consistent volume across channels. Get the most out of live coverage with enhanced internet content. Next Gen TV, designed to be upgradable with the advancements of tomorrow. The future of television has arrived. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
He's worked in Miami, Dallas, San Francisco.
The sources I've developed both on the East Coast and on the West Coast still talk to me.
An award-winning investigative journalist with decades of experience.
My passion is literally making a difference and using journalism to do that.
Is now here at Fox 8.
I'm actually flattered that I'm here because this is the best job in the world.
Watch Chief Investigative Reporter Stephen Stock, only on Fox 8, local first.
Tonight, it's round 2 for the Pels. They host Utah again, right here at home. Eve on the hammer! And it's time to let them know where the real Jazz comes from. Tonight, 6:30, it's Jazz Pels. You can watch it for free. All you need is an antenna to get the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. You're home for the Pelicans all season long.
We are tracking a winter storm that could bring historic snowfall levels to our area.
Bruce Katz has your first alert.
Well, that's right. We've been advertising this now for several days, and now we know it will be all snow. Snow and ice moving into the area. Now, with that, we are expecting snow, but we say ice because any melting during the day, say on Wednesday, could refreeze back into ice. So we're going to go over that in detail in just a moment. But the wind chills are going to be single digits to teens, definitely very cold. On top of that, travel shutting down as early as late tonight. Already, we're beginning to see some overpasses closed. The causeway is going to be going to one lane this evening as well. Now, as we take a look, we are looking at winter storm warnings in effect for the entire area and the Mississippi Gulf Coast, all the way down to Grand Isle and Boothville, Venice. Don't see that often. When will the snow start? It's going to start after 5 a.m. by 8 through 11 through 2, 3, 5. Going to be the heaviest time of snow by 6 to 8. Most of it ends. The models I just want to show you again, they have not budged, indicating all snow. Here's the American model into the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the European model. Snow, not even a mix, all the way into the Gulf of Mexico itself. So out west, we are beginning to see down toward the area of southern Texas, snow and sleet developing with rain in the Gulf. Here it comes as we move in between 3 and 5 a.m. North Shore starts getting some flurry activity. South Shore, we begin to see a little sleet mixed in with snow. Then, as we go through 7 o'clock, snow begins to pick up in bands. Then we see more snow on the South Shore, and by 8 to 9, it is going to be full on. From 8 o'clock all the way through the afternoon and early evening, a day of constant snow. You know how we've seen those days of just, it's been raining light to moderate all day. It's going to be that, but snow all day. Just incredible. Most I've seen in my lifetime in New Orleans, likely going to be breaking those records. So here we have noon tomorrow, all snow continuing to fall. Then we go to 4 o'clock, all snow around the South Shore. By 4 to 5, most of the snow begins to taper off. By 6 to 7, the snow is gone, but then we have frigid temperatures moving in. By Wednesday morning, we could see some single digits to mid-teens on the North Shore. We're going to be fine-tuning that. South Shore in the lower 20s, and then during the day, we see sunshine Wednesday. The problem is we're not going to get above freezing long. Anything that does melt and refreeze, by Wednesday, we could have some major travel issues as well, potentially into Thursday morning. So this may be a couple of day duration of after the snow, we could see the icing conditions be an issue for many overpasses, even along interstates and the local highways. How much snowfall? How about this? 5 to 8 inches. We're saying, wait a minute. I mean, is this a dream or what? This is like a snowstorm far north throughout parts of St. Louis, or maybe towards Chicago, getting a half an inch, a half a foot or more. We could see an isolated up to 10 inches, but likely 5 to 8 in the Metro and North Shore, down along the bayou from Lafitte south, 4 to 6, down along the coastal area from Grand Isle at 2 to 4, and then down on the mouth of the river, even an inch of snow in the Gulf of Mexico. 2 to 4 on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Already, here it comes. Right now, you've got a few hours left to get final preparations done. Temperatures already in the upper 30s to low 40s. Same South Shore, upper 30s to lower 40s. Dew points, in my lifetime, I've been forecasting in New Orleans for coming on 29 years now. I've never seen single-digit dew points like this and teens on the South Shore. The wind makes it feel colder, 8 to 15, feeling like the low to mid 30s around the area. And freeze outlook tonight, run the water North Shore. North Shore, run that water at 24. Then definitely 14 on Wednesday, 20 on Thursday, 26 Friday. So the next 4 nights, North Shore, you need to run that water at a spaghetti thin. Now tonight, South Shore, no need to run the water. Clouds moving in, 28 a light freeze, we can handle it. But Wednesday morning and Thursday morning, South Shore, we will be running water. After that, here comes that warm up just a little bit. So I'll tell you, Meg and John, as we go through the evening into the morning, temperatures continue to fall at 32, and by 5 to 6, here comes the snow. Get ready.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we'll see how much snow we really get, but then the duration of it, one way or you know, it snows in New Orleans and then it melts the next day.
No, exactly. I mean, this freeze is coming down from the Yukon, Siberia, and this cold is going to stay put. So we will likely get a few degrees above freezing on Wednesday, but it's not going to be long enough. So whatever little bit melts, that's your snow, that's your ice issue. So snow is going to be the first problem, but then the ice in slow melt is going to be the second. And John, realistically, and Meg, that could easily be up to even Thursday morning. So officials will let us know what's going on. We'll give you the information as well, but this is not going to be, as you mentioned, kind of a one-shot deal. It snows, the next day it's done. This is going to be around for a couple of days.
All right. Thank you very much, Bruce. Well, emergency leaders warn people to stay home and out of potentially dangerous road conditions.
Chris Welty is live with how DOTD is working to keep some of the most crucial roads passable during the snowstorm.
John, Meg, while the goal is to move equipment and treat roads before they freeze, DOTD acknowledges that they are up against Mother Nature. Now, the storm has leaders statewide on alert. The Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development's New Orleans Region Office mixed 6,000 gallons of brine. The department already treated the Bonnie Carey spillway. Over the weekend, DOTD secured another 100,000 pounds of rock salt. Now, that rock salt will help to
increase traction along our roadways. Now, that brings DOTD's grand total for the New Orleans region to 500,000 pounds of rock salt. DOT will focus on keeping Mississippi River crossings open, including the Crescent City Connection, Huey P. Long, and the Hale Boggs Bridge. The department will also focus on other priority routes for emergency crews.
Ziga Bridge, the St. Claude Bridge, the Judge Seba Bridge, the bridges along Chef Highway in eastern New Orleans, Wrigley's, and Chef Pass. So we have a whole list of them. We have crews that are going to be designated and responsible throughout this event to ensure that we're doing our best to try to keep those priority routes open.
If there is a need to close state routes, DOTD will talk with law enforcement and DOTD headquarters in Baton Rouge before doing so. Now, cones and barriers, they are already staged along I-10, so if they do have to make that tough decision to close any routes, they can move those barriers in place very quickly. Reporting live near the Crescent City Connection, Chris Welty, Fox 8, Local First.
All right, thanks for that, Chris. In the meantime, Jefferson Parish officials say that one of their top concerns is maintaining water pressure. They're asking neighbors to conserve water.
Roughly over 60 psi is what we typically have pressure. It drops below 40, then we start having trouble fighting fires. And of course, if it goes below 20, we have to get into a boil water advisory. So a couple of things to know is basically, as the parish president said, we're asking people in slab houses not to run their water. You just need to wrap your pipes that are outside of the house, okay? Any faucets on the outside or your pipe that comes up and goes into your house. However, if you do have a raised house where those pipes can, get that cold weather and that wind, what we suggest is that you run just one faucet with a spaghetti-like drip, and it should be the faucet furthest from your intake, wherever that water comes into your house.
Jefferson Parish activated about 130 water department employees to help with any water main breaks.
Entergy New Orleans says customers should not expect widespread power outages this week.
Chris Joseph reports if power lines need repairs, Entergy says there is no timeline for when crews would be able to get that done.
Yeah, Entergy New Orleans Vice President Nika Scott says the weather will drive how quickly and how safely the utility crews can make those repairs. Entergy New Orleans and Entergy Louisiana report having 1,600 crew members ready to make repairs statewide as needed. Their travel in the city will likely also be impacted by road closures in addition to the weather. Mayor LaToya Cantrell indicated elevated services will likely be closed tonight before midnight. Scott says Entergy has the ability to reroute electricity if needed, but if physical repairs are needed to get the electricity back on again, it will be subject to how the weather is going.
If it does require an on-site repair, I can't give you a timeline. We'll just have to wait to see what the storm conditions are at the time. Once we know that, we will update our outage map and send text to our customers to let them know when they can expect power to be restored.
Now, she says scheduled disconnections and outages will be delayed until next Monday. That's the 27th. She also reports the utility is not expecting any rolling outages, but if that happens, it's identified the city's warming shelters and will keep them running. Meg?
All right, Chris. The city of New Orleans opened up the warming shelter for residents ahead of the storm. The Rosenwald Recreation Center on Broad Avenue is open to the public. The city also has shelters for the homeless. If you or someone you know is in need, call 311 to make arrangements.
No school tomorrow across the region. Orleans Parish Public Schools are closed. Jefferson, St. Tammany, St. Bernard, Terrebonne, Plaquemine, St. James, Washington, Tangipahoa, and St. Charles. A number of school systems also have already announced plans to close Wednesday as well. Lafourche, Jefferson, St. Tammany, and St. Bernard among them.
Local grocery stores are seeing a surge of last-minute shoppers.
Con Trong is live from the Rouses on Airline Highway with how people are preparing.
Well, John, Meg, as we would expect for a hurricane, many people are now getting off work and making their final grocery runs here. It's not overwhelmingly busy here on Airline Highway. The produce section has a good amount of people, but check out the deli. There's a bit of a line at the deli right now. So what are people buying? The store director here says the essentials, water, bread, and snacks, because a lot of kids will be off of school. But because this is a winter storm, you're going to be dealing with a lot of folks that are going to be looking for hot items. And when it comes to canned food, that's going to be stews and soups here. Also taking a look at the schedule, because people will be thinking about the next 3 days or so if they're going to be kind of hunkered down and shut inside in their homes. The store here is going to be open till 10 o'clock, but all other locations for Rouse's will be operating in normal hours. But tomorrow, they're going to be all closed, as many places will be as well. Right now, the lines here are not very long. Many people aren't lingering in line. Lines are moving, and the store says it's moving all the inventory in, and as soon as they get them in there, especially when it comes to bread, it's moving out as well. We did speak with Massey's over on Claiborne Avenue talking about the clothing. So it's not just about the stuff that we're putting in our bodies, it's the stuff we're putting on our bodies for winter weather. Massey says a lot of folks have been coming in looking for winter gear, and that means gloves and hats, especially for the kids. Reporting live here on Airline Highway, Ton Trung, Fox 8 Local First.
All right, thanks for that, Ton. North Shore officials urge people to stock up on supplies this evening, avoid driving around over the next couple of days if at all possible.
They're taking full precautions, as Rob Masson reports.
And John and Meg, the temperature is dropping by the second here in Covington, but for now, right now, you can see the water tower behind us. If the forecast holds by tomorrow morning, there could be some snow on top of that water tower here in downtown Covington. It has been a long time since the North Shore has been forecast for this amount of snow, and officials are taking full precautions. Parish officials say they have lined up plenty of sand and salt to go on bridges that are expected to become icy over the next couple of days. They have started actually putting salt on some 60 bridges already this evening. Same goes for the causeway. They are concerned there, and they're bringing it down to one lane in about an hour and 15 minutes later tonight. Causeway officials have stockpiled sand and de-icing pellets and liquids, which they will put down after the precipitation starts to fall. They say a snow event will be preferable to an ice event, but they are taking full precautions. Now, officials say the 10 raised portions of the causeway are their main concern. Again, they will be bringing the bridge down to one lane in just over an hour for now, and they say that they are hoping that by doing that, that the little traffic that there is on the bridge will create enough friction to kind of keep the lane passable for emergency officials. They are urging everyone to stay off the roads. From the North Shore, Rob Masson, Fox 8 Local First, back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Rob. In the meantime, you know, despite all the concern about pipes and the dangers that winter weather poses, there is a certain excitement behind this. Such a rare event brings out the kid in many of us. Near Covington, the temperatures dipped low enough to partially freeze this fountain and provide a sneak peek at what's in store. The first glimpse at a coming winter wonderland about to blanket South Louisiana.
All right, let's bring Bruce Katz back in now. Bruce, let's talk a little bit more about timing and what exact hours you're expecting this system to move in.
Well, everybody should be in place easily by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. After that, snow begins to pick up, and then the intensity begins to pick up. And by 9 o'clock, it's going to be full-on snow across the entire area. So this will likely be at least challenging historic winter storm proportions, where we've seen way back in 1895, where we've seen the highest, and then 1963. So we're going back over 50 to 100 years on some of the snowfall that we were anticipating that many of us have never seen in their lifetime. I've been here forever, born and raised in New Orleans, and it looks like this is going to be the biggest snow that I've seen here in my lifetime. So starting tomorrow morning, heavy snow expected at times, travel becoming dangerous, as all officials have been saying, if you don't have to travel, stay put. There's really no need to go out and about and sightsee and all this. Your backyard and your front yard, I guarantee it, will be a winter wonderland, and enjoy it at home. We do have winter storm warnings in effect in the entire area, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And as you can see, the frigid, windy air continues to move in, but already this is the beginning of the snowstorm that we're going to be seeing moving in during the wee hours of the morning. So between 3 and 5, we do get a little light snow moving into the North Shore. By around 7 o'clock, a little bit of a mix of sleet and snow South Shore, but quickly by 9 o'clock, it is all snow, and it will be persistent all day long from 9 o'clock, here's noon, all day through noon into the early afternoon through 3, and by 5 to 7, Most of the snow begins to move out. North Shore between 3 and 5, South Shore between 5 and 7 tomorrow. The snow exits eastward, and with that, the temperatures will be plummeting. And then even though we get sunshine on Wednesday, likely we're not going to see much thawing. If we do see thawing, it turns to ice and then refreezes for overnight Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So likely 2 days of major travel issues, potentially into Thursday, will be the issue. So again, we will be monitoring that, and here at Fox 8, we're going to be giving you all the information on road closures, school closures, all the information you need to get you through this winter storm. Then on Wednesday, as we mentioned, a mix of sun and clouds, but quickly by evening, temperatures tumble back to freezing and below. Anywhere from 5 to 8 inches from the metro New Orleans area to the North Shore, farther north, coming in throughout parts of Washington Parish, extreme northern St. Tammany, up to 3 to 5 and 2 to 4 eastward on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Lafitte down to Houma, farther south, Port Fourchon over to Grand Isle, could see 2 to 4 inches, and then right along the coast, Boothville, Venice, you're going to be seeing snow on the shrimp boats down there. It's going to be incredible. Right now, temperatures continue to tumble far north as we will see another surge moving south. Right now we're at 40, but look at the temperatures we still have to go. Now we're not going to be below freezing, but we may be single digits potentially by Wednesday morning on the North Shore. So this cold air continues to filter south. So tonight on the North Shore down to 24, 14 on Wednesday, 20 on Thursday, 26 Friday. We may revise this number down even lower, so we'll watch out for that. But for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, the next 4 nights, we need to run water on the North Shore. You need to run the pipes. Now, South Shore tonight, no need to run the water, a light freeze at 28. But on Wednesday morning, we need to run it Tuesday night, Wednesday morning at 22. Likely the same on Thursday, and then light freeze to a light freeze and frost coming in for Friday into Saturday. Here's a look now at freeze preps. I'm going to bring in Nicandra Norwood now. Nicandra, once again, all pipes should be wrapped, but that water definitely needs to run North Shore this evening.
Well, and we've been reminding you that, even though we are looking very closely at the winter storm aspect of this and the snow, the freezing conditions are still around and they're going to stay with us. So you want to continue with those full freeze precautions. And we're about to get into our coldest stretch here as we go through your day on Tuesday into Wednesday. So here's how that comes together. We're going to see 24 hours and maybe more below freezing for some people. Tonight, we're just about to start to see that drop. It's 38 at Hammond, 39 in Galliano. These temperatures are going to quickly fall as we lose the daytime heat. And look at those dry dew points. It's got plenty of room here going through the overnight tonight. Our winds have been strong. We still got a good bit of a breeze, and that's still contributing to our wind chills right now. It has felt like it's in the 30s for most of the day. Feels like 34 right now in Hammond. That trend will continue through the night tonight. And then as our low gets closer, the winds pick up. The wind chills come down. So we start talking about that feels like temperature. The wind blowing across your skin, it actually blows away the heat that's radiating from your skin, so you can't warm up efficiently the way we need to. We're going to be excited that at this point we're going to start to see those snowflakes coming out. Everybody's going to want to go out and play. Make sure that you have the proper clothing, all of your exposed skin covered up as you can. Get the scarf wrapped around the kids' faces even, because these are dangerous wind chills. So you got to keep that in mind even as we get out and have a good time in this. Here's what we're expecting. You start to see a few flurries, maybe some icing along the coast that it's all going to turn over, moving a little too fast there, it's all going to turn over to snow through the area by midday. So at this point, that's around the time that you saw the end of that forecast. It feels like teens most of the area, and we're going to be seeing that start to move out by late in the evening hours, 5, 6 o'clock. Most are going to be going dry from the skies, but all that snow is going to be on the ground, and it's not going anywhere because of how cold it's staying. Here's that 24-hour temperature breakdown north of the lake, dropping down quickly as we get into the evening hours below freezing and staying there. Look at this, low 30s, 20s. The snow really kicks in through the morning hours tomorrow, and you stay in that freezing range through the day. And with that snow and ice on the ground, it's like having an ice pack. So it's going to keep the air colder, and then you don't warm up much during the day. You stay really cold at night, and any heat you do have escapes again. We're going to have clear skies and lighter winds at that point. So the 24-hour forecast here south of the lake, similar situation. Now it takes us a little bit longer to get to freezing tonight, but this is going to be your warmest time of day. Look at this, early in the wee hours of the morning, tomorrow morning, once the snow comes in, that air keeps getting colder through the day, so we're going to see temperatures falling during the day. The combination, you know, John asked me earlier, it just has come together where we got that Arctic air in, it has settled along the coast, and now here's where our low is forming, along that Texas coast. As that comes together, it is going to get pushed along by the southwest flow, and we've had it, remember? Over and over. We've shown you this area right along the coast where you get this little low spinning up, and then it's brought us the rainy days. They follow right along, one behind the other. You get the rainy day, we get a little break. But this time, because we have so much cold air in place, well, that's going to be snow. That's what we're talking about here as we look through that extended forecast. Exciting, something to watch, but taking care of those pipes, that's a big deal. And our travel issues, that's going to start tomorrow morning. You really want to be in place tonight if you can, by 5, 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow at the latest. And then you may have to stay where you are until Thursday morning, depending on what our melt is like, how things come through the refreezing overnight. The driving actually on Wednesday may be worse because you get a little bit of a melt during the day and then it freezes, and that's how you get the black ice forming and making it really difficult on the roadway. So those are all things that we're going to have to pay really close attention to here.
Yeah, and that's the thing Bruce has pointed out a couple of times is you can't really forecast how this will play out and whether you'll get, you know, this much snow on a road that then partially melts but then refreezes, and then the roads are worse than ever.
They're worse than ever. I mean, you know, snow is hard enough to drive in, but, you know, it kind of spreads out and bushes out. But when you get snow, rather ice, it just, you're sliding. So it's a total different dynamic where we're not expecting a lot of ice falling from the sky, but we are expecting potentially a lot of ice after melt and then refreezing. That's going to be the big issue.
And obviously the black ice you can't see,
which
is what makes it so dangerous.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm sure state police, local officials, they're going to be doing their job. They're going to be inspecting it. And if there's any area of the interstate that has some of that black ice or areas of patchy ice, I mean, they're going to close it. I mean, they just cannot take a chance on accidents.
Well, we've already heard from the NOPD saying they're going to preemptively be closing a number of overpasses and bridges just to protect people, make sure they stay off those roadways.
The Cleary overpass in Metairie, you know, the one you go off of Veterans going toward Airline, I mean, they're closing that tonight.
Right.
And snow is not falling yet.
I think it's already closed at this point.
Already closed at this point. And then the causeway, right now, they're getting to one lane. So even though the impacts aren't here, you're right. They're kind of preemptive striking. Well, if we have these issues, let's kind of shut it down now to get people in the mind think of we can't travel.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, guys.
Well, officials across the area, as we said, they're monitoring the roads and bridges, and you can find real-time road information about those conditions online at 511la.org, or you can download the Louisiana 511 app on your phone. Tangipahoa Parish President Robbie Miller echoes what many other area leaders say: stay off the roads during icy weather. Miller says taking a risk by driving can also put the safety of first responders in jeopardy.
They're going to have to respond best they can, and we're asking our citizens to make sure they don't create any first responder calls by being on the road, driving around sightseeing or anything like that. Only, you know, and preferably there's, you know, I don't know what the emergency would have to be for someone to think they need to get on the road, but please limit your access to driving, because that's the most concerning that we have, folks being on the road when they really shouldn't. But our first responders obviously have to be careful, and that's why we're making sure that we get the roads salted so that in the event that we have to roll fire trucks or ambulances, that the roads are as safe as they can be for them to be out.
As temperatures drop, Jefferson Parish opens 2 warming centers. The Terrytown Playground and the Alario Special Needs Center are currently accessible.
St. John Parish will open 2 warming centers tonight in just a few minutes at 6 o'clock. The West Bank Public Safety Complex on Highway 18 in Wallace, and in Garyville at Fire Station number 71 on historic West Street. Cots and blankets are available, but you'll need to bring extra blankets, food, and any snacks.
If you do lose power, the weather, something to keep in mind, the weather could affect gas-powered generators. A number of agencies have stressed not to use these generators in wet conditions. They need to be kept dry. The carbon monoxide they produce can kill quickly, so generators need to be outside, at least 20 feet from doors, windows, or vents, and you should never put them, we're always told, under carports or other overhangs.
We're going to have much more coverage coming up at 6.
There are many signs to help protect us from harm, to warn us from harming ourselves, or prevent us from harming others. But sometimes the best sign is the one that protects you from things you never knew or even thought would hurt you. Egan Insurance, the sign of quality insurance protection since 1954.
This January, our biggest sale is back. It's LAS's Wipeout Sale. Get up to 50% off all windows and shutters. LAS products are engineered and built by LAS. We are the best in the business. LAS was voted winner of Best of Homes 7 times. LAS windows exceed Energy Star ratings by 30%, and our shutters are the preferred shutter by homeowners in the Gulf South. If you're looking for curb appeal and peace of mind, choose LAS. So hurry and save up to 50% off today.
Thank you to the real champions who donated towards the fight against cancer. You are why we can help those in need. Your generous support helps Ashna Health provide care for thousands of patients and provides ways to advance cancer research. But there's still more work to be done. At Ashna Health, we don't take timeouts. To continue to help, visit ashna.org/moonlight for more ways to donate. Thank you.
Let's see some heavy downpours, showers and storms, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain.
If it comes down quickly, you could start running into street flooding.
We're tracking a flood risk as we go into your Friday morning commute. As much as 2 to 3 inches of rain will be a possibility.
As that rain continues, behind it, the weekend dries out, but we do turn breezy.
We're not as cold tonight, but we're increasing the heavy rain threat.
Where we see some isolated storms popping up.
The Fox 8 Weather app, sponsored by LAS Shutters and Windows.
From Fox 8, this is breaking news.
Good evening, I'm Meg Gatto.
And I'm John Snell. The area has not seen the kind of winter storm that all of the forecast models, all of the forecasters say will hit us in 130 years.
The ice and snow will move in overnight. Chief Meteorologist Bruce Katz shows us which areas could see the most snow and how many days we can expect to shelter in place.
Well, that is right. Doing the math, John just mentioned, that's 130 years ago, back in 1895. We could be vying for that record. If not, we could easily break a half-a-century record. Winter storm is on the way, putting out a first alert for tomorrow and potentially for Wednesday and to Thursday as well. With frigid wind chills, travel shuts down where people likely will not be going anywhere during the day tomorrow and even potentially on Wednesday. Now, what I've done was I've kind of shot out way to the west on Viper and take a look. Already snow developing with that low that will be tracking off to the east and bringing in that snow by early morning tomorrow. As we take a look, we are under winter storm warnings in effect for the entire area. Indicated by warnings, it is imminent and likely we will get these conditions with snow coming in over the next 24 hours. The models have been not moving at all. They have been lock solid on snow coming in all the way through the midday and evening tomorrow. Now let's time it out for you. Right now, 6 p.m., here's your model indicated by the low is getting its act together down in northeast near Brownsville. Snow on the northern end with sleet and rain to the south. Then we move in closer. Let's fast forward beyond midnight to 3 a.m. Follow with the timestamp. Light snow moving into the North Shore, South Shore by 5 to 7, some light sleet mixed with snow, and then by 9 o'clock, pretty much everybody gets snow. 8 to 9, the transition moves in. By noon, all day, we will be seeing light to moderate with an occasional burst of heavier snow. All the way through 3 o'clock. Take a look. Through 4 o'clock, heavy snow. Now between 4 and 5, the North Shore begins to taper off. By 5 to 7, the South Shore, the snow moves out. But behind it, frigid air moves in. We're bringing in more Siberian to Arctic air over a snowpack and bringing it all the way to the Gulf where it will not moderate at all. So we will be seeing temperatures potentially as we go into overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning in the single digits to lower teens north and the lower 20s on the South Shore. During the day Wednesday, we may get a little melting of that snow with sunshine. But on Wednesday, whatever does melt it will refreeze quickly during the late afternoon and evening. That could create more of an ice event where likely roads will continue to be closed until potentially even Thursday morning. How much snow will we get? Anywhere from potentially low end up to 5 inches coming in Mandeville, Madisonville, over to Slidell, Covington, Hammond, Baton Rouge, South Shore, in the metro, on the West Bank, moving in toward Lafitte and Houma, potentially at 4 to 6, 2 to 4, Grand Isle to Port Fourchon, 1 to 3 at Venice. I had a viewer calling in, Chalmette, St. Bernard Parish. We don't want to forget you. You could be in the 3 to 5 inch range, and then the Mississippi Gulf Coast coming in to around Bay St. Louis at about 1 to 3, a bit farther east at about 2 to 4 inches. So likely everybody is going to see snow during the day tomorrow, and I think potentially a lot of it. Here we have on the satellite and radar, here's the rain on the northern end, already beginning that freezing condition as far as freezing rain and snow. Right now, those temperatures, they're chilly. We're in the upper 30s to low 40s on the North Shore. South Shore, the same at this hour, and the dew points, single-digit dew points, something you rarely see in South Louisiana. 11 to 13 on the South Shore. The air is dry. Here's your north wind, bringing in a wind chill factor. Feels like 30 in Macomb, feels like 34 Kenner, feels like below freezing at Houma, freezing at Galliano, and 34 at Waveland. Just that indication of the cold air moving in. Now tonight, 24 North Shore, you need to run a trickle spaghetti thin line of water. Now, if your hot water heater or water heater is in the attic and your attic gets well below freezing, you may need to run the water on the hot side too at that spaghetti thin. Now, if your hot water heater or your water heater is in, say, your garage or your laundry room, you'll be fine. But in the attic, that's the issue. So tonight, North Shore, run the water. South Shore, no need to run the water at all. But Wednesday morning and Thursday morning, South Shore in the metro, that's when we'll be running that. So temperatures, guys, get ready. By morning, 7 a.m., you don't see this icon much on the actual Fox 8 weather app, but you'll see it. Snow, 70% at 31 degrees. Just incredible. It's on the way.
All right, we're bracing ourselves for it.
It's
Thank
coming.
you, Bruce. Well, the safest place for you to be the next couple of days is snuggled up under a blanket at home. Sounds ideal.
Or building a snowman.
Yeah.
Some time for that. You know, the focus obviously is on keeping the major roads to the greatest extent possible open. Chris Welty's looking into that. You may have heard me a second ago say he looks cold. I was talking about poor Chris, who's going to monitor here, but at least you got your Mardi Gras lights on the bridge.
Yeah, John, Meg, the Mardi Gras lights look amazing on the bridge behind us. If only we had some of those flurries right now, it would really set the mood and set the tone out here on the slide shot. But yeah, being live along the river, it is quite chilly. And of course, it's only going to get worse as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, the storm has state leaders on high alert, and they're making those final preparations to ensure that all roads stay open. Now, while the goal is to move equipment and to pre-treat roads before they freeze, DOTD acknowledges that they are up against Mother Nature. Now, if there is a need to close state routes, DOTD will talk with law enforcement and DOTD headquarters in Baton Rouge before doing so. DOTD's New Orleans region office mixed 6,000 gallons of brine to pre-treat roads. The department already treated the Bonnet-Carré spillway. Residents and state leaders say they are prepared for potentially treacherous conditions.
They've been wrapped since last year. We just checked them to make sure they were still good. Put gas in the car in case I need it. Other than that, it's hurricane preparation. Just in another way.
We certainly don't want to wait to the very last minute where ice would take over and we would lose that structure. So there isn't all. We typically want to be there a number of hours ahead of time.
Over the weekend, DOTD secured another 100,000 pounds of rock salt, bringing the grand total to 500,000 pounds. Now, that rock salt will help increase traction along routes. Now, DOTD will focus on keeping Mississippi River crossings open, including the Crescent City Connection, Huey P. Long, and the Hale Boggs Bridge. The department will also focus on other priority routes for emergency crews. Now, there have been a lot of rumors swirling on social media that DOTD might shut down the bridge at 7 o'clock, and DOTD says that is not the case. They are going to keep these routes open as long as they can do so. But of course, if they do see the need that they will have to close the routes, they'll send out press releases, and they'll also talk with local agencies as well as state police before they do so. But you can always get the most up-to-date travel information online at 511la.org, or you can call 511 from your smartphone. Reporting live near the Crescent City Connection, Chris Welty, Fox 8 Local First.
All right, thanks so much for that, Chris. And obviously the causeway is also a significant focus. It will be going to one lane only in about 53 minutes from now. So if you're planning to cross the Causeway Bridge, expect it to be limited to one lane starting tonight at 7.
Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang says officials' primary concern is keeping people off the roads because most don't have the equipment to drive in snowy or icy conditions. They already closed the Cleary overpass in Metairie and the Lapalco Bridge over Bayou Signet.
We just don't know exactly what this is going to look like the next couple days, but we do know the roads will be very hazardous, and many teams are looking at closing roads.
Louisiana has typically used sand to try to keep roads passable in winter storms, but this time around, St. Tammany Parish will use salt. It helps melt ice on the roads as it forms.
Salting roads this afternoon is something we've never done before. We had a lot of requests from our citizens to put salt. Historically, we've used sand, so we're trying salt this go around. We're going to see how this works. But by what you guys are forecasting, there's going to be a lot of snow on the road, and we're going to be salting the elevated roadways and bridges that usually in southeast Louisiana, when we have these type of severe winter weather events, it's a little bit of ice that we might be able to keep these bridges and roads open. But we're talking about inches of snow. So it's going to quickly close the infrastructure tomorrow.
All right, in the meantime, people packed Armstrong International today as the winter storm disrupts travel.
Andres Fuentes is live at the airport with an update.
All right, guys, we're seeing just regular traffic here at the airport with people trying to get to their flights and worried whether or not they'll actually be getting to their destination if it's one of those late night flights. I do want to swerve around if we can to show you the departure and arrivals board right now, because we're not seeing too many cancellations, but I really want to focus on these two. Southwest United canceled today. We also have another one, if we could show it, to Birmingham, and then a departure, I believe, to Orlando also canceled as well this afternoon, and we're going to be seeing some of those, especially flights in the region, start to get canceled. We've got word that Southwest and Spirit here at Armstrong International will not be flying tomorrow as a precaution because of that weather, and we are likely to see a lot more of the airlines here at Armstrong International doing the same just out of precaution. If we could turn around real quick, I do want to show you everything's pretty much smooth sailing. You know, I've been talking to a few of the travelers here at the airport. A lot of them, again, are worried whether or not they'll be able to get to their destinations, but for the most part, a lot of these people's flights leaving tonight, not really a concern. Some of the connecting flights, those type of travelers, they are concerned, especially those midday flights and things like that. But if you are concerned about your flight tomorrow, Thursday, Wednesday, they have all of that information for you on Louis Armstrong International's website. You can check it out, and that's free. That's live updates on those flights. For now, reporting live, Andres Fuentes, Fox 8 Local First.
Thanks, Andres. CLECO says it has secured an additional 500 contractors, including line mechanics, ahead of the storm. All of its plants are currently staffed above their normal operating levels to help with the response. Fire chiefs from across the area announced departments are teaming up to help respond to emergencies that may arise. With the possibility of power outages, the Westwego fire chief says when it comes to generators, remember the 20-20-20 rule.
That's 20 feet away from any door, window, or vent, air conditioner, heating unit, so that it doesn't pull any carbon monoxide into your residence. The second 20 rule is wait 20 minutes if you have to refuel. You want to shut the generator off, wait 20 minutes till it cools down, then pour your gasoline so that the vapors of the gasoline don't ignite on a hot generator. And then the last 20, you should already done it, and that's the $20 you should have spent for a carbon monoxide detector.
The chiefs say stay off the roads if you don't have to be on them to help everybody stay safe, including first responders. They also stress that if you haven't used your fireplace in a while, their advice is don't. The New Orleans Fire Department says that a fire broke out in New Orleans East this morning. It was the result of a fireplace. Jefferson Parish deputies are also investigating a deadly fire in Bridge City last night.
Shoppers are rushing to grocery stores to grab some last-minute supplies.
Ton Trong is live at the Rouse's on Airline. He tells us that some stores will be closed tomorrow.
John and Meg, all Rouse's stores will be operating on normal hours tonight, but starting tomorrow, because of all the precautions and the driving conditions that we're expecting, the closing of all the stores will be here in Louisiana starting tomorrow morning. Now, as people are getting off of work, we're starting to see a good amount of people coming in here, and similar to what we would see before a hurricane, a lot of people are making their final runs for groceries. Workers here say the rush on groceries really started on Friday, and that hasn't really let up since. We spoke with several customers, and they told us they're picking up the essentials: bread, water, snacks, and canned food. There's a mix of nervousness, but also anticipation, since it's been many years since some people have seen snow, if ever. We met former actor and radio personality Spud McConnell shopping here this afternoon, and he says he's not sure what the winter storm will bring, but his household will be fed.
I got a couple of great big Boston butts, and I'm going to put them in the oven tomorrow morning when it's really cold. I'm going to bake them bad boys all day. Then I'm going to be eating pig like the pig that I am.
There's definitely the water, those kind of items that we always buy during a hurricane, but this is a lot more cold weather items. So you're seeing stew meat and that kind of stuff. People are getting everything they need to make gumbo and that kind of thing. So there is that little bit of a difference, but it's still the water, it's still all the produce, snacks on snacks for the kids while they're out of school right now too.
And the shelves are stocked here, and that's because most of the workers have been kind of cycling in, bringing stuff off of the trucks and onto the shelves here. The lines are very manageable right now, but again, all Rouse's locations will be closed tomorrow. And we also visited Massey's Clothing on North Carrollton in Mid-City, and they say they're also seeing a lot of people coming in trying to get the last-minute preparations when it comes to clothing, and that means a lot of clothing, also gloves and hats, especially for the kids. Reporting on Airline Highway, Ton Trong, Fox 8, Local First.
All right, thanks, Ton. Well, I guess Spud has the right idea, right, John? Just hang back, relax, maybe eat some good food, and stay inside.
That's a pretty good get, Bruce Katz, to get, Spud McConnell's preparations.
That's exactly right. Now here we have some hot gumbo in the Studio B waiting for us.
Got to stay
after
warm.
we get off. That's right.
If they haven't eaten it all by now.
Yeah,
well,
really.
hey, newsrooms, they eat a lot. I can promise you that. Making a little light of it because, if you stay home and don't travel, it really is an amazing event. We don't see snow around here much. The kids are going to love it, and even the adults at young hearts, they're going to enjoy it too. So if you enjoy it at home, your front yard, your backyard, you're going to be fine. No need to travel farther north or south because pretty much everybody is getting snow tomorrow. Could be even an historic winter event starting tomorrow morning between 4 and about 5 a.m. Heavy snow at times and travel dangerous. Again, officials pleading with people, do not travel if you don't have to. I mean, a lot of places are closed tomorrow. Now's the time. You've got a few hours tonight to get out and about as we do see winter storm warnings in effect across all of the area to the Gulf of Mexico. Your timing at 6 p.m. already sleet and snow approaching Houston. And as we go in time, that snow is going to be encroaching the North Shore and parts of the Bayou and River parishes by 3 to 5 a.m. As we move in through about 7 a.m., it all begins to turn to snow, and watch how it fills in through the area at 9. So 9 o'clock through noon, a steady snow, light to moderate, even a heavy burst at times. Then through 3 o'clock, still moderate to heavy snow at times, moving on by. Here's 3. Notice by 4 to 5, North Shore, the snow begins to end, and between 5 and 7, South Shore, the snow begins to move out. But we're not done yet, because with a snowpack all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, colder air moving in, we're going to see the coldest temperatures we've seen in years moving on through the North Shore. So North Shore on Wednesday morning, right now we've got around 14, but some new model data is coming in. It could be as low as 9 or 10 degrees. On the South Shore, we're going to be going 24. That could go down to 19 or 20. So we will be updating you on that. And then during the afternoon, we are going to see sunshine Wednesday. If we get a little melt for maybe an hour or two, you know what happens? It refreezes as we go into the afternoon and overnight. So this could be a travel issue, not only for tomorrow night, but into Wednesday and potentially even into Thursday morning. So you need to stay up with the weather and news. Here at Fox 8, we're going to be having all the press conferences, all the data and information you need to know to get our lives back to normal after all this moves on out. Then on Thursday morning, again, it's going to be frigid cold with a little sun. Thursday morning, we could see a little ice, but I think by Thursday afternoon and Friday, pretty much most will be gone. 5 to 8 inches, North Shore and the Metro. That includes Mandeville, Madisonville, Covington, over to Slidell, 4 to 6, down to Lafitte, to Houma, 2 to 4, south of Houma, to say Port Fourchon, to Grand Isle, central Plaquemines Parish, to Port Sulphur, in Venice even 1 to 3, around St. Bernard Parish, up to 3 to 5 inches of snow, and the Mississippi Gulf Coast at about 3 to 4, at times could be a little heavier in a burst or two. We're at 40, but look at this, 10 below at Minneapolis, and there's more. Here it comes, anywhere from 25 to 35 below zero west of Hudson Bay. All that is continuing to move south, and it will be over the snowpack. As a result, tonight, 24 degrees on the North Shore. Run the water, cold water. Now, if your hot water heater is in the attic and you get below freezing, you may want to run the hot water as well if it's in the attic and your temperature of the attic gets well below freezing. If it's in your utility room or the garage like mine is, you should be fine. In the attic only. If you don't have proper insulation, spray foam or something that keeps it warm, you may want to run the hot water trickle as well. Now, everybody needs to run it on Wednesday. 14, potentially dropping that to 9 if models continue to bring in more data. Then 20 on Thursday, 26 Friday, 28 Saturday. So this is a long duration freeze. Then we go into the South Shore. Tonight, no need to run any water. Although 28 a light freeze, we're fine. Different story. Everybody should run water on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. Again, if your hot water heater's in the attic and it's not properly insulated, you may want to run the hot. If it's in the utility room or the garage, you should be fine on the hot water, but definitely cold water. Then 26, one more night of running water on the South Shore, and then we do begin to warm up beyond that point. So freeze preps, we are expecting all pipes to be at least wrapped up, as well as those hot water heaters. A lot of calls coming in to counter on that. So again, all precautions certainly needed.
Well, and that is the biggest question. It's, do we need to run the water tonight? And, Bruce just broke that down. We've had questions about tankless water heaters, and, we heard from plumbers that said, hey, get those wrapped. If they're outside your house or they're in the attic, you definitely still want to have that extra insulation there, because we are continuing to keep up with these full freeze precautions, including taking care of these pipes. And that's going to be really the rest of the week here that we'll need to pay attention to that. We're going into our coldest period now as we start to see temperatures tonight dropping below freezing. They're going to stay that way for quite some time. So right now, we're just around the 40-degree mark. We're just losing the heat of the day. But look at where our dew points are. It's the dry air that's in place right now. We're going to start to moisten that up. We're going to see more clouds coming in. We've still got the north wind keeping the cold air here at the surface, but look what's going on down along the coast. And two things that we're really going to be watching for. So we're already talking about what's going to happen with that snow. Everybody's going to want to go out in it. You're going to need to protect yourself. Plenty of layers, heavy coats, hats, gloves, scarves around your face. Try not to have any exposed skin, because look at where our temperatures. When you start talking about feels like, it's felt like it was in the 30s all day. That wind is still out there, and it's going to stay with us. This is our wind chill forecast going through the overnight tonight and into the morning on Tuesday, which coincidentally will likely be the warmest part of the day here. Early on, it's going to feel like it's in the teens, and that will stick around right into midday. Noon, you're still going to be feeling like in the teens when everybody's trying to get outside, because look at our timing here. This is where you're just starting to see that wintry precip get started. Some snow flurries, maybe a little bit of icing down along the coast, but this is all going to turn into snow by the time we get into midday. And we're going to be talking about significant snowfall all across southeast Louisiana and the Mississippi Gulf Coast, right on down to southern Plaquemines, ending into the early part of the evening. But all that snow is going to be on the ground, and temperatures are going to stay cold. Look at these temperatures here. All below freezing all the way through until you get into the evening hours tomorrow, and got more where that came from. You look at the South Shore, it takes a little bit longer to get to below freezing, but then we start to get that snow during the day, and we're actually going to see temperatures falling as that system comes in. So right now, here it is coming together, and just got a little interesting tidbit. The hurricane hunters are flying into the storm to investigate, so we'll actually start to see some of that data coming in the near future. But we've been getting these waves of energy on that southwest flow, and this time, with all the cold air in place, it is going to make a huge difference.
What? The hurricane hunters?
That's right. Going in and get some of that data for us.
Barometric pressure and some of those
Well,
readings?
the drop sounds, where just like we do during the hurricane, it's going to tell a whole lot about how that storm is going to come together. Maybe better info on snow total. So it's going to be interesting to see that a little bit later tonight.
Do they typically do that for winter storms?
Sometimes, yeah. If you hear about those big nor'easters, they do it a lot. They do it a lot in those storms.
All right. Okay.
So we're getting that treatment.
Yes.
See, I learned something from you guys. Every one of these events.
You're such a smart guy.
No, you're the smart. All right, North Shore officials are urging people to stock up on supplies this evening, as you may have to stay indoors for a couple of days. Rob Masson reports officials are also worried about water pressure.
North Shore residents were stocking up today on pipe insulation, firewood, and heaters as parish officials sounded the warning about freezing temperatures and heavy snow.
We anticipate roads will become impassable, and we encourage again all citizens to prepare to be self-reliant in your homes or wherever you're staying tonight for several days.
At Mandeville's O'Reilly Auto Parts store, they're having a tough time keeping up with some items needed to keep your car safe through several days of freeze.
You'll spray it on the windshield, and it'll help with getting the ice broken up so you can scrape it off and you'll have visibility through the storm.
Across the street at Mandeville's Ace Hardware, pipe insulation is a hot commodity.
Yeah, we're plenty stocked up on firewood, propane, plenty of insulation, faucet covers. You know, we're still ready to stock everybody up.
Causeway officials have also stocked up on de-icing pellets and liquids and will be putting out cones later tonight.
Tonight, around 9 or 10 o'clock, once the rush hour is complete, we're going to cone off the bridge. We're going to close the left lane and keep the right lane open, thinking that with traffic we do have, the friction of that traffic will keep the bridge deck thawed out and open, mainly for emergency traffic to get back and forth.
Causeway officials say they will be out late tonight closing off one lane of this bridge, probably for the next 2 or 3 days, and they urge all drivers to stay home if you can.
If you can stay home and build a snowman, stay home and build a snowman.
Parish officials say it will be easier to stay home for at least the next 2 days. St. Tammany Parish office buildings, courthouses, and schools are all closed while emergency personnel remain on duty.
That was Rob Masson reporting. Governor Landry says the state is prepared for the winter weather, and thanks to help from Arkansas, there are snow plows, dump trucks, and extra personnel on standby here. Still, he urges people not to go out on the roads because many of them will be closed.
We may have over 48 hours of constant below freezing temperatures, along with extremely cold wind chills, and what could possibly be near record amounts of snowfall in South Louisiana. We ask that you be patient with the parish and local governments as we work with them to clear the roads and the bridges.
No school, that goes without saying, tomorrow throughout the region, but this could last for a day or so too, as we're expecting things to continue. Orleans Parish Schools closed, Jefferson, St. Tammany, St. Bernard, Terrebonne, Plaquemines, St. James, Washington, Tangipahoa, St. Charles. Basically, if you can hear me on the air, you don't have school. A number of systems have already announced plans to close Wednesday. They include Lafourche, Jefferson, St. Tammany, and St. Bernard, and that list could grow.
Yes, a reminder, the Causeway will be going to one lane starting at 7 tonight. So again, if you're planning to cross the Causeway Bridge, expect it to be limited to one lane starting at 7 o'clock.
Stay home and build a snowman.
Yes.
That's the advice. Have some hot cocoa, sit on the couch, and enjoy the snow.
There are essential workers like us
Yes.
that have to get in, map out where you can go as you make your way through.
Not everybody agrees we're essential, but we're trying to do
Well,
it.
ground level is absolute best. So let's take a look at the graphic now. Again, a lot of times we see just a light all day to moderate rain, and look at this. Here's what we're looking at: an all-day snow starting between 5 and 8, all the way through 10, through about 4 in the afternoon. So you don't have to travel anywhere to see a winter wonderland as it moves on in.
So forgive me, the pink there represents more ice
That's a
down
little
in the
bit of
Boothville
sleet.
area?
That's
or-
sleet and
Like a
snow.
mix.
But that's at 10 a.m. By noon, it's all snow.
Gotcha.
So 10 a.m.
All right.
later,
Yep.
there'll be some.
Snow in Boothville and in Grand Isle.
Hey, if you've been wishing for the white stuff, your wish is coming true tomorrow.
All right.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you very much.
Yeah.
And then the question, I guess we'll see too, is what's the nature of the snow? How wet is it?
Right.
How good a snowman will it make? And
Likely, it's going to be a wet snow. The temperature profile, Amber Wheeler, she worked in a snowy atmosphere and station, and a little wet, which is actually good for snowmen because you can kind of pack it hard. And
Yeah,
make a
really.
snowman.
Maybe it'll last for a few hours.
right, the update on that, because that's really vitally important for large
The
cities.
kids are wondering.
Very important.
And for the big kids too. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you back here tonight at 9.
You look ridiculous.
Why don't you go fetch us up another blanket?
It's time to call Airsmiths. The experts at Airsmiths will fix your heating and air unit to keep your home comfy cozy this winter. The pros at Airsmiths take pride in having lots of options on repairs and equipment replacement. We should also sign up for one of Airsmith's maintenance plans. No problems means more belly rubs and fewer rough days. Call Airsmiths, a Carrier factory authorized dealer. Carrier, turn to the experts.
It's time to replace your old windows, New Orleans, and right now Acadian Windows has a special offer. No money down, no interest, and no payments for 2 years. That's Louisiana's premier window product, professionally measured, manufactured, and installed with a lifetime warranty, all without the hassle of paying until 2027. Give your home the energy efficiency and curb appeal it deserves. This offer won't last long, so call now for your free estimate. Acadian Windows.
Best windows in town.
Thank you to the real champions who donated towards the fight against cancer. You are why we can help those in need. Your generous support helps Ashna Health provide care for thousands of patients and provides ways to advance cancer research. But there's still more work to be done. At Ashna Health, we don't take timeouts. To continue to help, visit ashna.org/moonlight for more ways to donate. Thank you.
He's worked in Miami, Dallas, San Francisco.
The sources I've developed both on the East Coast and on the West Coast still talk to me.
An award-winning investigative journalist with decades of experience.
My passion is literally making a difference and using journalism to do that.
Is now here at Fox 8.
I'm actually flattered that I'm here because this is the best job in the world.
Watch Chief Investigative Reporter Stephen Stock, only on Fox 8, local first.